Hello, this is a guy who likes fanfiction and is too lazy to read, so here is Neo Yondaime Hokage in audio form. Check the description for the links to the author. Chapter 46, Motives. 10 days earlier, in Uegaku. In a lounge inside a training compound, several jounins currently were drinking sake and conversing with each other. Sujiro was presently reading a bingo book and studying the recorded file of a particular elite jounin who was loved, admired, and respected by many and at the same time hated, thought low of and feared by many others. "What are you doing?" a female medic jounin asked as she walked over to Sujiro. "Catching up on my reading," Sujiro replied in sarcasm. The 18-year-old jounin ignored the younger male as she snatched the book from his hands and read the file he was reading up on repeatedly. "Name, Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto," the female medic jounin said as she examined the blonde's profile and picture. "He's a cutie." Sujiro snorted. "I'm sure you'd like to bet him. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he already screwed the hell out of Ryota-chan." "Like you almost did last year," the female remarked cynically. "I suppose the only way for you to get with a female is by drugging them." "You're one to talk," Sujiro replied. "You still don't have a boyfriend and you're too much of a tomboy for the guys liking Tsuchiko-chan. Perhaps it's time you considered changing your orientation." Seeing what he was implying, Tsuchiko pulled out a senbon needle and was about to aim it as his crotch when she remembered why he was known as Uegaku's Diamond Fang. "Prick," Tsuchiko remarked before putting her senbon needle away. "I don't swing that way." "And you clearly don't swing in any manner that would give a man a turn on either," Sujiro added. "For a time I wondered how you use the bathroom, with the seat up or down." "You're such an asshole," Tsuchiko growled before deciding to stop the developing argument as they noticed a few of the other jounins turning to look at them. Sujiro smirked at her as he watched her review the file he was going over earlier. Tsuchiko said, "Let's see what the bingo book have here on this Naruto guy." "You mean to say that you never read up on him?" Sujiro asked with a disbelieving expression. "Honestly," Tsuchiko admitted, "I've only heard some talk about this guy among the others, but I never really bothered to find out more about him. I've been too busy to really care about the latest gossip and tall tales that's been going around." "I truly find that surprising considering whose son he is," Sujiro added. Tsuchiko had a raised eyebrow as she continued reading out loud. "What more do they have on this Naruto guy? Alias, Konoha's second flash? Are they serious?" Tsuchiko asked while looking back at the male jounin. "Just keep reading," Sujiro replied as he pointed to the book in her hands. Turning her eyes back into the book, she continued, "Age, 15. That's odd. That guy clearly looks to be 15 years old. How could they not be sure of his age?" "Beats me," Sujiro remarked. She shrugged and continued, "What else do they say? Place of birth, Konohagaku no Sato. Familial background, son of Namikaze Minato, also known as Konoha's Yellow Flash, and Senjutsunade, Slug Sunin, and infamously known as the legendary Sucker." "So he really is the son of the Yellow Flash," Tsuchiko said. "The resemblance is undeniable. And here it was that I thought it was all some wild rumor." "You really are slow," Sujiro retorted, only to be rewarded with a middle finger to his face in courtesy of the medic jounin. "Anytime," Sujiro remarked with a sly grin before receiving a scowl from the female jounin. Looking into the book again, Tsuchiko went on. Level, Cage. Rank, High S class. Status, Elite jounin. History, responsible for killing Orochimaru the Snake Sunin, slaughtering an army of Oto and Suna jounins with the high ration, and being the prime factor that led to Konoha's victory over the Suna-Oto invasion. That same day during the Suna-Oto invasion, he also killed 4 additional ninjas who were fighting alongside Orochimaru, one of them being a genin, the second a jounin, and the last 2 being S-class cage-level shinobis. These 4 ninjas were labeled as unidentified despite the fact that there were many eyewitnesses that were present at their battle. Twice Naruto battled against Uchiha Itachi, an S-class missing nin and former Umbu captain responsible for the Uchiha clan massacre. On both occasions Itachi was denied victory. The first encounter ended in Itachi's defeat and retrieval, whereas on the second occasion Itachi fled, especially after Jiraiya the Toad Sunin appeared. You got to be kidding. Even Itachi had a hard time with this Naruto guy. There's more, Sujiro said, read on. She continued, Naruto battled once against Hoshigaki Kisame, an S-class missing nin who is also known as the mysterious person, monster, of the mist. But the battle between them ended in a stalemate because of Itaka's interference in stopping Kisame from continuing his battle with Naruto. Naruto battled once against Gaara, a BA-class genin formerly known for being Tsunagakure's ultimate weapon, and won. Through his battle and victory, Tsunagakure later made an alliance with Konohagakure. He faced off twice against Ryota, a high A-class missing nin formerly known as Uegakure's Shining Stone. The first encounter was during his mission in Nami no Kuni while protecting the bridge builder and architect named Tajuna. The second encounter was in Konoha's Forest of Death. Naruto battled and defeated Ryota on both occasions. After her second defeat, she accepted Naruto's offer to side with him and become a Konoha Jounin. She also aided Naruto during the Tsunaoto invasion. "That double-crossing bitch," Tsuchiko said sourly. "I always suspected she'd turn on us the first chance she got. But I never thought it would be for that reason." Sujiro said nothing as he watched the medic nin read the rest of the record. Tsuchiko read on, "What's this? Additional note, Naruto never lost a fight. Warning, he's extremely dangerous and is not to be engaged in combat. Order of action, if seen, flee on sight." It's very clear that IWA has been keeping tabs on Naruto for quite some time, Tsuchiko said as she handed the male Jounin back his bingo book. She looked at him carefully before a realization dawned on her. "From the look on your face," Tsuchiko said, "I think I see where this is going." "What do you mean?" "I think you're planning on doing what I think you are," the female medic Jounin stated knowingly. "Well, I think you're right," Sujiro answered, "if you're thinking that I'm going to fight Naruto." "Yes, I see," she remarked coolly, "you're going to battle Konoha's second Flash. What are you thinking? You can't challenge him. It would be suicide. Are you insane?" The uproar caused all of the other Jounins in the lounge to look at the pair questionably. They all had curious looks on their faces when they heard the young female shout at Sujiro. Shrugging, the rest of the Jounins decided to go about their own business and ignore the pair. "Since when did I ever refuse a challenge?" Sujiro remarked. "Bringing down and killing Naruto once and for all would be a feat that only a brave and mighty ninja can do, and it would establish our village as the dominant of the 5 elemental nations. Plus, it would wipe out the Namikaze bloodline once and for all. Don't you think so, Tsuchiko-chan?" "No," Tsuchiko replied solidly, "it's a stupid and foolish ambition that'll lead you to your death. Most of those people who challenged Naruto were all A and S class ninjas and missing nins in the bingo books, and none of them won against him, and neither will you. He fought and killed 3 S-class ninjas in one fight, for God's sakes." "A fellow nin with such little faith in her own comrades," Sujiro remarked. "It's not a matter of having lack of faith," Tsuchiko retorted, "it's a matter of common sense and being realistic with oneself. I've been contemplating on a plan on taking out Naruto for some time," Sujiro said, "and I'm very well aware of his exploits and his abilities, and I've been studying up on them. Everyone else prior who fought him clearly underestimated him because of poor strategic planning. But regardless of his achievements, it doesn't change the fact that he's still another mortal human being." Tsuchiko said nothing as she listened to Sujiro's explanation. "He's strong, but he's not invincible. He's hard to kill, but he's not immortal. He's bound to have some form of weakness one way or another, like any other shinobi. He can be brought to his defeat under the right circumstances and with a well-thought-out plan of action. We just have to find out what his weakness is and come up with a plan to use it against him. Once we do, he'll become a lamb being led to a slaughter." "I wonder who the lamb truly is," Tsuchiko remarked as she walked off. "There is no we in your plan. I'd much rather be an old retired ninja than a young beautiful corpse." Sujiro watched the female Jounin walk off. Looking back into his book, Sujiro thought, maybe I should pay this Nami no Kuni a visit. But first, I have one favor to ask of you, Tsuchiko-chan, Sujiro called out after snapping out of his thoughts. Tsuchiko stopped and turned to face him. "And what would that be?" "How good are your medic skills?" Sujiro asked. Tsuchiko had a raised eyebrow as she looked back at him. "Why do you ask?" "There's something I would like for you to do for me." Present time, 4 days later. Naruto, Anko, and Ryota were speedily leaping from tree to tree while on their trek to Nami no Kuni. So far they haven't met up with any encounters of any form. During their time traveling, Naruto have been deep in thought and contemplating on Sujiro's objectives in fishing him out from Konoha. Sujiro is plotting something, Naruto thought, but what I can't figure out is whether or not IWA has anything to do with it. After all, it's no secret that IWA has tremendous hatred for my father after he single-handedly turned the tides during the IWA-Konoha War, which led Konoha to victory over IWA. The loss of shinobi lives IWA suffered from my father's high ration was amazingly high. It only took 1 second for my father to slaughter the entire army of IWA ninjas, male and female alike. Naruto knew that learning and continuing his father's legacy would in effect make him a most feared and hated man in the shinobi world, and without question, many would seek his death. He always knew that his enemies would resort to any tactic, dirty or not, to lure him out. He knew that they would even use those precious to him as bait to draw him into an opening for an ambush. Is IWA trying to trigger another war with Konoha? Naruto wondered as he meditated on the current situation. First off, IWA knows that should they trigger another war with Konoha, they'll have to deal with the wrath of my Kaa-chan, Ero-jisan, and Jisan, with Gaara and the rest of Suna backing us up since an alliance between Konoha and Suna was formed. IWA would have to deal with not only Konoha, but Suna as well, with both Gaara and I at their disposal. And with Ryota on our side, she'd be able to provide invaluable information about Iwagakure's defenses and terrain, both within and outside the village. It doesn't add up. Does Iwagakure despise my dead father that much that they'll willingly risk war with 2 shinobi nations and suffer political problems with Nami no Kuni just to satisfy their vendetta against my nearly extinct clan and bloodline? Yondaime Hokage, Anko said, snapping Naruto out of his train of thoughts, are you alright? You've been awfully quiet for the last 2 days. Sorry, Naruto apologized, I just had a lot on my mind, that's all. Worried about that Inari friend of yours? Ryota asked. That among other things, Naruto admitted before turning back to seeing where he was going. While making their way, Anko was deep in thought with what was on her mind. For the past 4 days, she didn't know how to tell Naruto what it was she wanted to get off her chest. One of her intentions for wanting to go with him was to talk to him about something important, and she repeatedly scolded herself for not finding the right occasions to do so yet. But at the same time though, Naruto himself wasn't in the best mindset to talk to about what she was feeling during the past days. She figured that hopefully later in the day, he'd be in a better mindset to be spoken with. After another long while of traveling through the trees, Naruto flipped down to the ground with Anko and Ryota following close by. Looking at the skies, Naruto saw that it was close to sunset. We'll camp here tonight, Naruto said as he pulled out one of his scrolls from his trench coat. Opening the scroll, he focused chakra into the seal in it and released the utensils that came from out of it. Summoning 2 cage bushins, Naruto had them go straight to work in setting up the 2 tents and campsite. Ryota, Naruto said, I've been meaning to ask you if you have more information about Sujiro. Beside the fact that he's an asshole and a wannabe rapist, Ryota remarked, he specializes in sharp cutting-edge weapons. Last time we fought, he used a blade of some sort that appeared to be made out of glass, but it was as hard and sharp as diamond. Do you know anything about the kinds of jutsus he uses? Naruto inquired. Not really, Ryota admitted, I never got to really see what he could do, but many said that those who ever came across him always turned up dead or maimed. I was one of the very few he wasn't so successful on. So he's a high A-class ninja like yourself, Anko interjected. He is, Ryota confirmed, though there was once a rumor that he was borderline S-class. But that was just a rumor. Regardless, Naruto said, I'll keep what you told me in mind. Soon, the cage bushins were done setting the tents up, and after placing the firewood together, with the use of a low-level katon jutsu, a fire was started up. While Anko and Ryota were sitting by the fire, Naruto walked off into the forest. Where are you going, Yondaime Hokage? Anko asked. For a walk, Naruto replied, not waiting for a reply from either of the 2 females. Anko watched as his form gradually disappeared into the forest. She thought about following him, but she decided against it, for now that was. Meanwhile, up in the mountains in Nami no Kuni, Inari and his mother Tsunami found themselves tied down with ropes that seemingly appeared to be completely made out of diamonds. They found it impossible to break free no matter how hard they tried to free themselves. Inari's legs were also tied together, making it impossible for him to stand up. "Don't bother trying," said a masculine voice that entered the old-looking stone chamber they were in. Inari snarled venomously at the sight of the 17-year-old Iwa Jounin that entered the chamber. "Let us go," Inari demanded. "You'll be sorry when Naruto Nyakin gets a hold of you." Sujiro went over to the boy and stood in front of him. He smiled brightly at the boy before delivering a backhand to the boy, painfully backslapping the boy to the left side of his face hard enough that it resulted in the youth getting a busted lip that now had blood seeping down his wounded lip. Inari yelped in pain from the blow while feeling the stinging sensations from his bleeding lip with a small bruise accompanying it. "Stop it," Tsunami cried, "please leave him alone." Turning to the older woman, Sujiro went over to her and knelt down next to her at her right. "Perhaps you'd like it if I bother you instead," Sujiro remarked with a sly grin. "I'm sure I can do much more with you than with that bratty kid of yours." "Get away from my mom, you jerk," Inari yelled. "Do anything to her and I'll dash." "And you'll do what exactly?" Sujiro taunted as he pulled a kunao from out of his cloak, with the blade of the kunao looking like a razor-sharp diamond. He then ran the diamond blade of the kunao along Tsunami's right leg up until he reached her skirt. Tsunami's heart was racing fast while feeling the cold object ran across her leg, fearing what the enemy teenage ninja would do to her in front of her son, especially when he slowly caressed his bare right hand over her right leg. Inari snarled at the older male with pure hatred. "They always said that a diamond is a woman's best friend," Sujiro said as he looked at Inari, "since I'm an ace of diamonds." Sujiro looked away from the boy as his hand went under and further into Tsunami's skirt as he continued caressing her. She gasped in shock and fright at the older boy's actions as she felt his hand where it shouldn't be. "Get the hell away from my mom, you damn bastard," Inari yelled, struggling to break free from the diamond ropes confining him. But to no avail, the ropes were too strong and tight for him to break out of. Sujiro placed the diamond blade kunao down momentarily and with his left arm, he passed it around Tsunami's back before he grabbed hold and started groping her left breast. Tsunami did nothing in retaliation against the Iwa Jounin for fear that he would take his vengeance out on her son. She was desperately hoping that he'd stop what he was doing to her. It was both demeaning and humiliating, and the fact that Inari was seeing this only made matters worse. Sujiro took a large sniff of her hair and said, "Perhaps I can buy your beautiful mom's best friend too." "I'll kill you," Inari threatened. "I'd watch my choice of words if I were you," Sujiro said as he released her breast and picked up his kunao. He glided the diamond blade of his kunao up to her throat while keeping his other hand under Tsunami's skirt. "We wouldn't want your beautiful mother to have a little accident, now would we?" Making his point, he pressed the sharp tip of the diamond blade into her neck, causing a small trickle of blood to seep down from the small cut he made into her neck and onto his weapon. "You bastard! You won't get away with this," Inari shouted. "Naruto Nyakin will make you pay dearly. I swear it. He'll come for us and kill you." "I don't think so," Sujiro said. "I have a little something special planned for your Nyakin and you two will be the ones to help me." "Never," Inari replied defiantly. "I'd die first before you get me to betray Naruto Nyakin." Removing his hand from out of the woman's skirt, Sujiro reached into his cloak and threw another diamond blade kunao at the boy's face. The diamond part of the kunao grazed speedily across Inari's face as the boy screamed from feeling the sharp cutting pain of the diamond blade on his face as the weapon plunged deep into the chamber wall past Inari. "Don't hurt my son," Tsunami begged, fearing for her son's life. "Do what you want with me, but please spare and let my son go." "That's a most tempting offer, but I'm afraid I can't oblige to that request since you two are important pieces to my whole plan," Sujiro said as he retrieved the diamond blade kunao from off of Tsunami's neck. He then got up and went over to where he threw his other kunao that now he Inari's blood on it. "Why do you hate Naruto-kun so much?" Tsunami asked. "What has he ever done to you?" "He's done nothing personally to me really," Sujiro admitted. "Then why are you doing this?" Tsunami asked. "What could you possibly gain from all this?" "You're not a ninja," Sujiro retorted, "therefore, you can never understand our motives. We ninjas fight to prove who's greater than the other and establish our name and the name of our village among the elites of the shinobi world. Only the strong survives in this world and those too weak to protect themselves are dominated." "You're wrong," Inari interjected. "I may not be a full-fledged ninja yet, but I know why I fight. I fight to protect those who are precious to me, that include my mom, grandpa, my people, and Naruto Nyakan. The strong are supposed to give strength and protect those who are in need of their help and all who they love and cherish with their lives. That's what a ninja is supposed to do. Something Naruto Nyakan taught me. Was it now? Sujiro remarked. If that's what Naruto himself believes in, then certainly that belief will be his greatest downfall. Turning to the exit, Sujiro made his way out. After taking a couple of steps though, he stopped walking. When this is all over, Sujiro said as with his back facing them, you two will go down in shinobi history as the mother and son duo that helped Uegaku's Diamond Fang destroy Konoha's second flash. Laughing at the prospect of seeing Naruto's dead body at his feet, Sujiro left the mother and son pair alone in the chamber he was keeping them in. Turning the entrance of the chamber, Sojiro performed a few hand seals, causing what looked like prison bars to sprout out of the ground and wall to seal away the entrance. When that was done, Sujiro continued on his way. Are you okay, Mom? Inari asked worriedly. I'm fine, Inari, Tsuwanami assured. After a brief moment of silence. I'm sorry, Inari said as tears started building up in his eyes, it's all my fault. I let that dirty creep touch you like that and I couldn't do anything to stop him. I started training so hard to become a ninja that fights to protect those precious to him and I couldn't protect you, Mom. Sobbing, I'm so ashamed, Naruto Nyakan would have been disappointed in me. Inari started crying with the feeling of guilt washing over him. Tsunami moved herself as best as she could over to her son and allowed him to rest his head on her shoulder as he cried on her. It's not your fault, Inari, Tsunami assured, don't beat yourself up over something that was beyond your power to stop. I'm proud and appreciate your brave spirit and strength to want to protect me. But as your mother, I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I were to let anything happen to you. I'm supposed to protect you really. And regardless of whatever happens to me, I'd feel much better knowing that you're alive and safe. You and my father are precious to me, and I'll happily give my life in exchange for your well-being and safety. So please, Inari, don't feel you're to blame for what happened to me or why we were captured. Understand that I don't blame you for it and neither would Naruto-kun. Believe me when I say that Naruto-kun would be just as proud of you as I am. Her words seemed to have calmed Inari down as he eventually stopped crying and leaned in closer to his mother until he fell asleep on her shoulder. Tsunami rested her head on top of her son's head as a few tears fell from her eyes down her face. I'm so sorry you had to see such a vile act happen to me, Inari, Tsunami said in her heart, while hoping that both her and her son were rescued soon. Later that evening, Naruto was sitting on the grassy ground with a few vials and 2 medic seal scrolls in front of him. He was currently trying to keep himself occupied and not worry himself too much about Inari and Tsunami. It wasn't that he wasn't worried about them, but he saw that if he didn't do something to keep his mind calm and focused he'd become reckless and do something that would make matters worse. Presently he was working on 2 things and both scrolls were important instruments for what he was trying to create. Taking 4 of the vials, he poured 2 of them onto the scroll on his left and the other 2 onto the scroll on his right. After doing a series of hand seals, Naruto activated the seals on the scrolls before they started glowing and infusing completely into the concoctions poured on them, turning the concoction to his right clear sky blue and the one to his left clear yellow. Finally, Naruto said, feeling satisfied with his accomplishment. Taking a suction tube, he used it to suck the concoction on his left and carefully poured the liquid contents into a tube capsule. After closing the lid of the tube, he cleaned the suction tube thoroughly before using it to suck the liquid contents on the scroll to his right into it. As with the previous concoction, he took another tube capsule and carefully poured the liquid into the capsule tube before closing its lid. When that was said and done, he placed both vials into one of the pockets in his green vest before cleaning up the mess he made. He sealed away the rest on his medic and research utensils into his scrolls and placed his trench coat back on after dusting himself after placing the scroll inside his trench coat. Hard at work, I see, said a feminine voice from behind the blonde. Naruto turned to see Anko approaching him. Anko-chan, Naruto said, I thought you'd be out looking for victims to torture to pass the time. Maybe I'll make you my victim and torture you, just for fun, Anko remarked with a grin on her face. Like that would be the first time, Naruto shot back. Never removing the grin off her face, Anko speedily threw a kunai to his face. Naruto caught the kunai with his left hand as Anko appeared behind him with a kunai to his throat. You're getting careless, Yondaime Hokage, Anko said, feeling confident in her supposed victory. Says you, came a voice behind Anko before feeling a kunao to her right side. The older woman turned her head to see the real Naruto standing behind her. I learned to adapt to you, Anko-chan, Naruto said before his Kage Bushin puffed out of existence. When did he create and use Kawarimi with a Kage Bushin? Anko wondered to herself with a perplexed expression. She placed her kunao away before Naruto did likewise. How's Ryota doing? Naruto asked. She's fine, Anko answered. She decided to some practicing on her own while I went to find you. I see, Naruto said. Well, since you found me now, I suppose we should be heading back now, yes. Not waiting for an answer, Naruto turned and started off back to where their campsite was. As Anko was watching his retrieving form, her mind went back to what Jiraiya told her some time ago. Anko, Jiraiya said, it would best to come clean and tell Naruto the truth about your feelings for him. You opened up to him on deeper levels than you ever did with any other person, so why not tell the Hokage how you feel? After all that the Hokage has done and is doing for you, the least you can do for him is tell him the truth about your feelings. That way you won't have to spend the rest of your life with more regrets. Naruto-kun, Anko said, causing Naruto to stop in his tracks, especially since he heard the honorific Anko addressed him with. She had never used that honorific with anyone before and he was surprised that she called to him by that honorific. Turning to her, Naruto looked at Anko with a curious face. Yes, Anko-chan, Naruto asked. Anko was surprised at herself. She couldn't believe that after all the stuff she did and went through with Naruto that she was now nervous before him. She even felt her heart racing and pumping hard in her chest. What's wrong with me? Anko yelled to herself. I never felt like this before. Why am I so nervous all of a sudden? Though it was dark, Naruto saw a faint blush that was on her cheeks. He slowly approached her until he was standing in front of her. It surprised him to remember that Anko was now shorter than him. Are you okay? Naruto teased as he looked closer at her. You look a little red. Are you coming down with a fever? Anko blushed some more as she regained her composure. I'm fine, really. There's something I've been meaning to tell you for some time and I feel that I should tell you now before I regret not doing so. Bear with me as this is the hardest thing for me to do. What do you want to tell me? Naruto asked. After a brief moment, Anko took a breath and said, Naruto-kun, I love you. You're the first person I've ever felt this way for in a very long time. I know this crosses the boundaries between the relationship of a sensei and apprentice, and I know some would say that such a relationship is taboo. But I can't help the way I feel for you. Naruto stayed quiet as Anko continued, there's more I have to tell you. Back when you were in a coma after your battle with Orochimaru, on one of the days I came to visit you, I poured out my feelings to you knowing fully well that you weren't aware of it. I already know about it, Naruto admitted. I was told about it in detail from Ero-jisan. You knew this whole time, Anko said with a surprised expression. How come you never said anything about it? Because I wanted you come out and say to me while I was awake and aware what was happening, Naruto replied. I wanted to believe and hear it from out of your own mouth, not from Ero-jisan's or anyone else's. There was a moment of silence between the two ninjas as they stood where they were. After what felt like an eternity of silence. I was too afraid to tell you the truth back then, Anko admitted, despite the way I act around you and in front of everyone back in Konoha. However, telling you my true feelings was surprisingly the hardest thing I ever had to do. The last person I became emotionally attached to betrayed and left me to rot like I was yesterday's trash. That's why I was reluctant to tell you the truth. I was afraid of getting hurt again. I understand, Anko-chan, Naruto said with a softened expression, and I'm very happy that you told me this. I was honestly hoping that you wouldn't change your mind and play it off like nothing happened. Why? Anko teased with a mischievous smile. Was it because you always had a thing for sensei? Now it was Naruto's turn to blush as he scratched the back of his head. Lying would be pointless now, wouldn't it? Besides, Kakashi Naizen and Ero-jisan were notorious for always teasing me for always liking you despite your infamous reputation. So the honorable son of Yondaime and Godame admits that he always had a thing for Konoha's bad girl, Anko teased playfully as she moved closer to him. I never would have thought that Konoha's self-proclaimed bad girl had a thing for younger men, Naruto smirked. So what if I do? Anko remarked as she grabbed him by the collar of his trench coat and pulled him down toward her as his lips crushed into hers. Their kiss gradually deepened as their tongues began wrestling intensely for supremacy. Anko for her part wrapped her arms around his waist and pulled him closer to her as Naruto embraced and pulled Anko closer to him. To the older Jounin, nothing else mattered at that moment. She didn't care what everyone back in Konoha would have thought about her relationship with Naruto. All she cared about was that Naruto was kissing and holding her, something no man had ever done with her before. She felt loved, wanted, and desired while being given the kind of attention that no man has ever shown her in all her life. The smell, touch, and taste of him set her soul on fire. She desired and wanted more of him. Because of this, it took every fiber of her being and self-control to keep from taking him right then and there. Still, she was loving and enjoying every moment of it. Moving her hands downward, Anko grabbed and groped Naruto's rear, causing the younger Jounin to moan in surprise into her mouth. She giggled mischievously as she slowly pulled her lips away from his as she pulled and hung onto his tongue with her mouth before slowly releasing it as though she was savoring the very taste of him. After completely releasing his tongue, she licked her lips and gave Naruto a satisfied smile, causing the elite Jounin to blush heavily. "That's how a real woman kisses," Anko grinned. "I'm sure you've never been kissed like that before by any of those younger girls of yours." "And I always said, who doesn't want to be kissed by Yondaime's only son?" Naruto teased back. "Looks like my small fox friend Shippo was right. Sensei always had a thing for her younger apprentice, consequences be damned." Anko snorted and smacked him across the head for reminding her of that small trouble-making humanoid kitsune. "Be that as it may," Anko remarked while smiling at his frowning expression as he rubbed his head, "but as your sensei, I see that I still have much to teach you." She pulled him in and kissed him hotly again. Meanwhile, back at the campsite, Ryota was sitting by the campfire waiting for Anko and Naruto to return. "Where are those two?" Ryota complained. "What's taking them so long?" Being bored, Ryota, using earth manipulation, formed a small 10-inch tall solid earth statue of Sujiro. Still using her earth manipulation jutsu, she formed several female Jounin's statues of the same size, only they had spiked bats in their hands. Running over to the Sujiro statue, one of the female's statues spun-kicked him to the feet from behind, causing him to fall to the floor on his back before the rest of the female statues hurried over to him. While the Sujiro statue was on the floor, the females, with their spiked bats, started beating the male figure to death until he was reduced back to the dirt from which he was made. When that was done, she manipulated the dirt into a 1-foot-tall Naruto, wearing nothing but his tiger skin loincloth he made back in the Forest of Death. The Naruto statue was being held up with his arms stretched out to his sides with chains attached to 2 poles confining his arms. She then formed a slightly shorter statue of herself with a whip in her hand. The only difference was that the Ryota statue was dressed not in Konoha Jounin gear but in jungle Amazon clothing. "Beg," Ryota grinned as she made a gesture with her hand, causing the Ryota statue to start whipping the Naruto statue. As that was happening, she made another gesture making the Naruto statue appear to be enjoying and begging for more of her treatment. The Ryota statue then went over to the Naruto statue and started feeling on male statue's body while caressing the areas she struck with her whip, looking as though she was taking pleasure in dominating the stronger male who appeared to have fallen completely under her power and control. "From now on," Ryota said while continuing with the earth manipulation, "you'll be my slave boy and you can refer to me as your mistress." "I'm very sure you'd have enjoyed that, Ryota," a male voice said from behind Ryota, causing the young earth-type Jounin to yelp in surprise as she jumped back from Naruto and Anko who were standing behind her. "Not that you haven't done that to me before, but you certainly didn't succeeded in getting me to beg." "I don't however recall the caressing and feeling on my body being part of the treatment from last time." How long were you two there?" asked an embarrassed and heavily blushing Ryota. "Long enough," Anko replied with a warped smile. "I wouldn't have ever thought that someone of your character had something of that nature in mind to do with Yondaime Hokage. But you're from Iwagakure of course, and after hearing so much about the rockiness of your former village, it's rather clear that girls like yourself learn to play rough while being the ones on top." "No, it's not like that." "You got it all wrong," Ryota denied with the blush never leaving her cheeks. "No need for denial," Anko replied with the same smile never leaving her face. "With all this in mind, how about you and I compare notes?" Oh yeah, Anko was going to have a field day with this, and Ryota knew that Anko would possibly never let her hear the end of it. Sighing, Naruto shook his head and was only thankful that Jiraiya wasn't around to see and hear this. Undoubtedly Ero-jisan would write another book based on this mission, Naruto thought. Elsewhere. Aochayu, Jiraiya sneezed loudly in his apartment in front of his desk with all of his written notes and writing utensils in front of him. He took some napkin and blew his nose. Someone must really be thinking about me, whoever the person is, I sure hope she's real cute. Jiraiya smiled to himself before shrugging it off and going back to writing Ika Ika Paradise, the passion of the teacher. Now where was I? Oh yeah, alone at the training ground, Narutobi quietly sat on the grass attentively as he watched his sensei Ankoku perform the kata of her taijutsu. It was an awe-inspiring sight to behold as the grace and fluidity of her body quite took his breath away. Back in the forest. I wonder what that old perv is doing now, Naruto wondered before turning back to the two females. It's getting late. So you both should get some rest while I stay awake and keep on guard. Aren't you vigilant? Ryota remarked. I have to be, Naruto replied back, especially after seeing that little show about me you put earlier. Ryota wanted to give a retort to the blonde, but she knew that anything she'd say now would most likely be used as ammunition for Anko to tease her some more with. Frowning at the blonde, Ryota turned and went into the tent her and Anko were sharing. When Ryota was out of sight, Anko went over to Naruto and kissed him again briefly. Don't let me catching you sleeping while on guard duty, Anko said. Who's the one in charge here, sensei? Naruto reminded with a smirk on his face. Anko snorted before smacking him on his shoulder and turning away to head into the tent. Standing there alone, Naruto looked up at the evening night skies to see a star-littered sky with the full moon radiating in all its glory. While looking at the seemingly peaceful skies, Naruto knew that everything was anything but peaceful. Though he was worried about Inari and Tsunami, he couldn't help but feel that something else was happening back in Konoha, and the vibes he was getting from those feelings was anything but encouraging. Back in Konoha, later that night, Sasuke was sitting by himself on the roof of one of the buildings looking at the full moon. While there, he thought back to everything that happened from the Uchiha clan massacre to Naruto's two encounters with Itachi all the way up to now. Naruto had been on par with keeping up with Itachi and even killed a Sunin in one fight, Sasuke thought. He has a power many can only dream of achieving. And my Sharingan isn't fully developed yet. Sasuke thought back to Itachi's words in what's required to gain the Mangekyo Sharingan, you must kill your closest friend. I will not give you the satisfaction of gaining power by following your methods Itachi, Sasuke thought out loud. Then perhaps you'll be interested in gaining power by means of another method, said a feminine voice. Sasuke turned to see four Otonins a couple of feet away from him standing to his left. The Uchiha stood up and looked at them coldly. Kabuto-sama has an offer for you that you may find to your liking, Teiwa said with a haughty smile on face. Sasuke looked at them cautiously. What kind of offering? Power, Teiwa said going straight to the point, real power. And you'll get it if you come back with us to Odagakure. Chapter 47, Objectives. In Konoha. Sasuke looked back at the Sound 4 incredulously. You want me to leave Konoha for Oto? Sasuke asked. That's right, Jirobo said, that's the offer Kabuto-sama has sent us to give to you. Why should I even bother to accept such an offer? Sasuke replied, none of you have anything I want. You seek power don't you? Seikon spoke up, we can give you that power and then some. Some power, Sasuke scoffed. It didn't do Orochimaru any favors when he challenged Naruto and we all saw what happened to him. If you four were trained by him then you guys must be even weaker than he was. You snotty little fuck, Teiwa yelled, if you think you got balls bigger than mine, then fight me you asshole. If your master couldn't beat Naruto in a 5-on-1 fight, Sasuke smirked, then the four of you wouldn't last 5 minutes in a fight with me. I knew the Uchihas were arrogant, Kidomaru remarked, but up until now, I never realized how incredibly stupid they were. It's little wonder why Taka slaughtered them all. Their stupidity must have sickened him. Those words seemed to have achieved the desired results from Sasuke as bloodlust started pouring from out of the raven-haired genin. Did we make you mad Sasuke? Jirobo mocked, perhaps you wish to fight us and prove who's the strongest of the 5 of us here. You're not worth even wasting a fraction of my chakra on fatty, Sasuke insulted. Jirobo now got mad at the Uchiha and was about to lash out at him when. "Stop it, Jirobo," Teiwa ordered. "We're here to convince Sasuke to come with us, not to engage in some shitless quarrel about your body weight." Jirobo snarled at his red-haired teammate but decided to hold back his retort to her. "You four are wasting my time," Sasuke scoffed as he turned to walk off. "Now get lost. I have better things to do." "Like being in Naruto's shadow," Teiwa remarked, causing Sasuke to stop where he was. Hearing those words was a blow to his ego, though he verbally didn't want to admit it. "Yes, Sasuke, we know all about your ordeals with Naruto," Kidomaru added in. "We've kept tabs on you both for some time. The Uchiha clan isn't what it used to be since the Namikaze clan now stands in the place where your clan once stood. I'm sure you've seen how everyone in your village worships that bastard Naruto, kissing his ass just to get favors from him. Tell us, Sasuke, what has this crap-ass village done for you as of late?" Sasuke stayed quiet for a moment. "No answer, huh?" Seikon said. "I guess you having no answer means that this village has given you nothing to bring you closer to achieving your objective and attaining real power you rightly deserve." "Shut up," Sasuke retorted, "none of you know anything about me." "We know about your hatred for Itachi," Seikon said. "You desire revenge for what he's done, yes? But what has this village done to help you find vengeance for your clan's demise? What kind of special training did they refuse you but gave to Naruto instead?" Kidomaru added in. That question grabbed Sasuke's attention. He recalled seeking training from Naruto in order to gain more power. But Naruto refused and dismissed him, and instead chose 3 youths who didn't even graduate from the academy to become his new apprentices. Sasuke have seen Naruto's power firsthand, as did many others. He knew what Naruto was capable of doing and how much he held back against them during their days in the academy. It's insulting, Sasuke thought. Naruto didn't need his full strength to take me or any of the other genins on in a real fight back then, and his first fight with Itachi was proof of that, and we were still in the academy then. I fought against Itachi and lost badly in a most disgraceful manner. Naruto fought against him again and... What's on your mind? Teiwa spoke, breaking his train of thoughts, still wondering what good being in this useless village will do for your sorry ass as you grow weaker with each passing day while their beloved blonde wonder grows stronger. If anything, Sasuke hated the idea that he was an Uchiha stuck in the Namikaze's overcasting shadow. In all the years he's known Naruto, Sasuke felt he's made no improvements. He found that he was nowhere near the level Naruto was at, and it angered him that all of the special privileges and training he felt he should have gotten was given to Naruto. Naruto, Sasuke thought as if the pronouncement of that name left a bitter taste on his tongue. He's achieved everything I ever wanted out of life. Personal one-on-one training from the Hokages and Jounins, power, admiration, and recognition from both councils from Suna and Konoha, the status as a clan leader, and respect. Unlike me, daughters of 2 clan leaders and the late Kazekage were betrothed to him for the purpose of helping him revive his clan while I was given nothing in regards of my clan. Naruto's very name is feared by many while mine is looked upon and laughed at. Sasuke felt the curse seal on his neck activate as it fed off his anger and bitter envious spirit. He held his neck while trying to suppress the pain from it. Don't fight it, Kidomaru said. Embrace this power Orochimaru-sama has bestowed to you. Use it to help you accomplish what you seek most in life. Come with us and Kabuto-sama will see to it that you gain more of what you seek. Black markings started appearing around half of Sasuke's face and body. He turned to look at the Sound 4 and his Sharingan activated. He clenched his fists and he looked at them with a hardened expression. Smirking, Seikon remarked, looks like you're interested in testing your power against ours. Alright, I'll be glad to test you out first. And with that Seikon activated his curse seal and engaged Sasuke. Elsewhere in Konoha, at the Sarutobi estate. Sandaime was in his study office reading his rare golden platinum edition Ika Ika Paradise book. A heavy blush was on his cheeks with perverted giggles escaping his mouth here and there. I knew it, Sarutobi remarked with a naughty grin on his face, that jungle ninja has quite the charm on those kunoichis. I always suspected Sango was using her bossy demeanor as cover so no one would suspect that she and her younger sister were having a thre. Jiji, Kano Amura yelled while making his way toward Sandaime's study office. Sarutobi speedily hid his book before picking up a scroll and hiding his face in it to look like he was occupied doing something else by his desk. Yes, Konohamaru, Sarutobi said in his best impression as someone breaking out of his train of focus. Konohamaru opened door and hurried over to his grandfather. I want to ask something of you. Are you busy? Not at all, Sandaime smiled, damn. Just when the story was getting good. Naruto Nyakin said that he has summoning contracts with toads and foxes. Though he could summon snakes from his arms because of a smaller and different kind of contract he's signed with the permission of that nutty purple-haired older lady he likes so much. Sarutobi knew whom his grandson was referring to but stayed quiet as Konohamaru continued. He said that he can't summon the snake boss, Manda, but that he could summon the toad boss, Gamabunta. However, he didn't tell us whether or not he could summon the fox boss, whoever that is. I'm sure he has his reasons for not disclosing that information at this time, Sandaime said. So what's this all about? You said that you have a summoning contract with apes and that you can summon Elder King Inma. Do you think it's possible for me to have a summoning contract with apes like you, Jiji? Sarutobi turned his eyes to Konohamaru and saw that the youth was serious. He knew when his grandson would joke around and act childish, but this wasn't one of those times. It's not that easy, Konohamaru, Sandaime said. Not every ninja has what it takes to acquire a summoning contract of any sort. Well, I'm not every ninja, Konohamaru replied. Just because they don't have the capacity to gain a summoning contract doesn't mean that I won't either. True, Sandaime admitted. However, summoning requires a large amount of chakra and that in itself takes years to build up. Also, if the boss requires it, you must pass a test they'll give to you. If you fail, you won't be allowed to summon them or any of their kin. Alright then, Konohamaru said with determination, I'll practice and train harder to build up my chakra reserves to high levels. And I'll pass whatever test Masama throws at me. Naruto Nyakin trains hard all the time to become stronger since he feels that he still has a lot to learn in spite of all he can already do. If Nyakin made it that far, I know that as his protege and future successor, I'll be as great as he is, if not close enough. Sarutobi looked at Konohamaru in the eyes to see if his grandson was really serious about what he was saying. Are you saying all this just because your objective is to become as great as Naruto? Sandaime asked. Naruto Nyakin uses his power and skills to protect the village and everyone who is precious to him. He even left the village a few days ago to rescue someone from another country who's precious to him. I desire to become stronger so I protect you, Asuma-jisan, Naruto Nyakin, my friends and everyone in this village. That's why I seek to become Yondaime Hokage. Please Jiji, what must I do to earn this summoning contract? Sandaime never felt more proud of his grandson. He wasn't acting like a spoiled child like how he used to. Konohamaru stayed quiet as he looked at his grandfather as he rose off his seat and walked over to him until he was standing in front of him. Kneeling down, Sandaime took and embraced his grandson into his arms. You truly have grown, Konohamaru, Sandaime said with a sense of pride in his voice. You came a long way from how you used to behave. If you had come to me for an entirely different reason for seeking such a summoning contract, I'd have refused you. But what you told me tonight speaks volumes to me. If you truly seeking a summoning contract for the reasons you've told me, then I'll help you attain it. Really, Konohamaru replied happily, you'll help me. Of course, Sandaime assured, but like I said, attaining such a contract won't be easy and you'll have to work very hard to earn it. Still, I'll provide you with whatever help I can so you can possess the ape summoning contract as my successor. Thank you Jiji, Konohamaru exclaimed happily as he hugged his grandfather. I promise, I won't let you down. I'm sure you'll make me proud, Konohamaru, Sandaime replied before standing back up. Now, go get some rest. You'll have a long day tomorrow training to start earning that contract. Konohamaru nodded before he turned and hurried out of his grandfather's study office. After the door was closed, Sandaime sat back down on his seat and took a breath. Looking at the picture of Minato, Sandaime remarked, your son has quite the influence on people, Minato. With that said, Sandaime, seeing however everything was back to how it was previous, pulled out his book and continued where he left off. Sounds of giggles were heard moments later. Meanwhile, Sasuke was breathing hard at his fight with the Sound 4. That battle went everything but in his favor. It was clear that the Sound 4 had more experience with the curse seal and were better trained with it. At this point, Sasuke's clothes were tattered and torn in a couple of places. Even with your Sharingan, Kidomaru said, you had a hard time with us, though you provided for us quite a fight. Still, you're weak Sasuke, and you'll only get weaker with every passing day the longer you stay in this decrypted village. Sasuke scowled at the six-armed Oto Jounin, but inside himself he felt that the Otonin made his point. In all the time I spent in this village and with Kakashi I haven't improved at all, Sasuke thought. I couldn't even land a single blow on Itachi, and now I'm a walking joke to these guys. Seeing the way you handled the powers of the curse seal Sasuke shows that you still carry potential to achieve a level of power this village has denied you, Jirobo said. Had they allowed you to use and train with the seal, you'd have had better control of it and utilize it to further advance your capabilities. Instead, Seikon interjected, they refrained you from using the seal, wasting its potential and what it could do for you in the long run. Orochimaru-sama may not be alive to help you achieve your goals Sasuke, however Kabuto-sama has been at Orochimaru-sama's side long enough to be about to guide you down the road you seek to travel. Kabuto-sama has all of Orochimaru-sama's manuscripts and scrolls on jutsus and seals, Teiwa spoke up, come with us and all of Orochimaru-sama's secrets and scrolls will be at your complete disposal. Why should I trust any of you? Sasuke interrogated, if anything, this could be some kind of trap. We wouldn't waste all this time trying to get you to leave this village and come along with us if all we were going to do was trap and kill you in the end, Kidomaru said. Besides, what do you have to lose by leaving this village? Do you have ties with anyone in particular that moves you to remain in Konoha, only to grow weaker and remain below Naruto's level? Sasuke scowled at them before thinking about Naruto, Team 7, and the rest of the genins. When he sat there to think about it, he never really made solid ties with anyone in Konoha. His only ambition was to kill the one responsible for the slaughter of the Uchiha clan. We'll be leaving for our return to Otagakure tomorrow, Teiwa said. If you seek to travel back with us, meet us at the south end of the forest outside Konoha tomorrow night. Not waiting for Sasuke to reply, the Sound 4 took off into the night, leaving Sasuke alone with his thoughts. Putting his hand on where his curse seal was. Will remaining in Konoha really help me in my objectives? Sasuke asked himself before retreating back to his home. 2 days later, far from Konoha. It was a clear sunny day and everything seemed peaceful. Naruto, Anko, and Ryota made fast tracks to Nami no Kuni. Taking his mind off his troubles momentarily, Naruto's mind started drifting off to an occasion when he set off one of his most mean-spirited pranks back in his days as a genin. The fruitage of his prank was priceless. Flashback, several months ago. Naruto, in his 13-year-old form, was with Kakashi and Team 7 for their D-rank mission. Their mission was gardening work for a man named Ayama Kenji. Alright everyone, Kakashi started, today's mission involves pulling the weeds out of Ayama-san's garden. A mission? Naruto snorted indignantly, you mean chores someone else wants us to do for nearly free labor? Shut up Dobe, Sasuke retorted, we don't have time for your stupid complaints. Yeah, Sakura added, learn to work hard once in your life. Staring at Sasuke's ass for as long as you can without blinking doesn't count as hard work Sakura-san, Sai mocked, though I admire your efforts. Sakura was about to hit Sai when Kakashi stepped in. That's enough, both of you, Kakashi said, let's get this mission started. Now, since there are 4 of you here, each of you will work at an assigned corner of the garden. After Kakashi assigned them their corners, each other them got to work in pulling out the weeds. Kakashi in the meantime was busy reading his beloved orange book with perverted giggles escaping his mouth here and there. This was not what I visualized being a ninja would be all about, Naruto complained, I've gone from training to battling missing nins and enemy ninjas to training to battle weeds and garden trash. Quoting Sandaime, those who seek to become Hokage must cultivate an intense love for the village and view everything about it as precious and worth taking care of as a parent nurtures and takes care of their child or children. When it comes to raising and caring, refining, and protecting their children, no task is too tedious, too small, or too great for the parent to assume responsibility for. Indignantly, seeking to become Hokage shouldn't entail getting on your knees and getting your hands dirty doing someone else's garden work because they were too lazy to do it themselves. For the proclaimed Rookie of the Year Naruto, Sakura scolded, you're such a crybaby. Sasuke-kun is doing the same mission as the rest of us and not once did he complain about it, unlike you. I tell you Naruto, you could learn a lot from Sasuke-kun. Sai chose to stay out of their argument, finding no real point in adding his 2 cents into it, for now that was all Sasuke said as he went about his business. Naruto gave no reply as he went about his chores. I guess that put him in his place, Sakura said, feeling satisfied with herself and her accomplishment as she resumed her work. After another 15 minutes into her work, Sakura felt something odd inside her red blouse. What the? Sakura said while kneeling down on her knees before opening the top of her blouse a bit. She looked into her blouse and Kakashi and the 3 male genins with him turned to see Sakura screaming and running around like a headless chicken while hurriedly trying to get whatever was inside her blouse out. Get it out! Get it out! Get it out! Get it out! Sakura screamed while feeling a creature in particular slithering around her body from inside her blouse. Get what out? Kakashi asked while looking unimpressed with Sakura's unprofessional behavior as a kunoichi. A snake, Sakura shrieked while frantically reaching for her blouse. There's a snake in my blouse. She removed the blouse from off her, revealing her pinkish-white tank top and bra that was partly visible through her tank top. What snake? Sasuke asked with a clearly annoyed expression. Sakura looked around for the garden snake that was inside her blouse and found that the snake wasn't there. She looked all around for it and found nothing. Sakura, Kakashi started, are you sure there was snake at all? I'm not making this up, Sakura yelled, I know what I saw and felt. Or what you thought you saw and felt, Naruto remarked, or maybe you cried, snake, as a ploy so you could have an excuse to strip and show off your body to Sasuke-kun. Before Sakura could yell at Naruto for his accusation and mockery about Sasuke, she blushed heavily when she realized that she was in Sasuke's presence with her blouse off. Despite the situation, she was hoping Sasuke liked and found her figure sexually appealing. Naruto saw the sudden change in Sakura's facial expression as he noticed a particular smile formed on her face. I'd rather not visualize what perverted thoughts with Sasuke are going through that large cranium of hers, Naruto mentally grimaced. It's very clear that you're really one of the guys, Sakura-san, Sai remarked with one of his fake smiles, your flat chest and built is proof of that. Sakura's reply to that remark was her fist to Sai's face as he fell to the ground. And you have the strength to back it up, Sai added as he rubbed his face, I have to hand it to you, Sakura-san, you really got thick balls. Sakura yelled and chased after Sai around the garden, forgetting about the fact that she wasn't wearing her blouse, and that she was only in her black shorts and tank top. She was screaming things along the lines of beating him to a pulp and other things of that aggressive nature. Sai ran and evaded all of Sakura's punches she threw at him. You have the balls to fight boys and tell Naruto-san off, Sai remarked, yet you don't have the balls to go against snakes. Such backward display of ninja from one like yourself is best kept underneath a paper bag over your head. That remark only served to fuel Sakura's rage as she ran after Sai again. Naruto was sitting on the ground clutching and holding onto his stomach while laughing his ass off in tears, while Sasuke frowned upon the scene indignantly, looking at both Sakura and Sai as hindrances to his advancements. Kakashi sweat dropped at the sight of his genins while Kenji came out demanding what on earth was going on in his garden. When Kakashi explained what happened, Kenji was quick to deny the accusation of snakes ever being in his garden. No one noticed, however, the green garden snake that slithered back up Naruto's left arm and disappearing into his shirt. Later that day, Kakashi and Ayama Kenji had to clear up matters with Tsunade about the incident in the garden. Kenji argued that there was no snake and there have never been any early incidents of snakes or garden snake ever being found in his garden. Tsunade got a headache from dealing with the extra paperwork concerning Kakashi's mission and the incident that occurred during the day's mission. She knew all too well that her son was the culprit behind the incident since he was the only person in Konoha besides Anko who could summon snakes from his arms. As for Naruto himself, he spent the rest of the day avoiding Tsunade, who wanted to yell and berate him for making her day more difficult than it already was. He stayed with Shizune for the rest of the time, knowing he could count on her protective sisterly spirit in cooling Tsunade's anger and escaping her wrath. End flashback. If Naruto sought to be malicious, he could have summoned a viper to slither up Sakura's dress. But he knew something of that nature would have given him away as the culprit behind the prank, despite the fact that Tsunade already knew it was him. Naruto's previous reasons for pulling pranks was to maintain his sanity and distract him from the problems he was going through when Kyuubi started to awaken within him, resulting in the horrific nightmares he started having about the Byakuya for several months as a kid then. His pranks, however, caught the attention of Sandaime and Anko. They saw that Naruto's use of pranks on unsuspecting ninjas of various ranks and escaping their wrath demonstrated his cunning, skills as an escape artist and strategic ability to set traps that could be made deadly, efficient, and effective if he wanted to. His battles with Ryota, Tenten and Neji was proof of that. Anko had trained and helped Naruto hone in on sharpening his skills as a trap setter and escape artist, and in the end, she was at the receiving end of one of his traps during one of their training sessions. She was proud to see that her training Naruto was paying off and that her tendency in being cruel, harsh, and if need be cutthroat in her methods had rubbed off on him. I wonder if I should pull off another prank when I get back, for old time's sake, Naruto thought with a chuckle escaping his mouth. What are you laughing about, Yondaime Hokage? Anko asked as she and Ryota noticed Naruto laughing lowly to himself. Nothing, Naruto replied before returning his attention back to reality, just thinking about some fond moments of my life during my time as a genin. Whatever, Ryota remarked before she and Anko turned their eyes back to the front. Naruto shrugged and continued on his way with his two female partners. An hour later, the trio arrived at the bridge. Upon arriving there, they were shocked to see that was in front of the newly constructed bridge. Ryota asked, "Is that a statue of Dash?" "Me," Naruto asked as he and the other two kunoichis stared at the recently built dark-colored bronze statue of him, surprisingly in his present elite jounin appearance. He was standing tall with a strong and determined look on his face. Looking at the golden plaque on the bottom of the statue, the inscription read, "Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto." Through one act, he inspired a boy. Through that boy, he inspired a nation. Through that nation, he inspired the natives to fight. Through that fight, he inspired the natives to protect what's precious to them. In his honor, this bridge was named after the heroic shinobi of Konohagakure no Sato, who saved and inspired the nation of Nami no Kuni. His inspiration and courageous spirit will forever live in our nation, and be carried through this bridge as we link ourselves with the rest of the world. Looking at the front of the bridge, they saw an arch built in front of the entrance of the bridge. On top of the arch was engraved the name, the Great Naruto Bridge. "Wow," Naruto exclaimed in surprise, "they named the bridge after me and even went as far as to build a statue in honor of me. I wonder how they knew how I look like now, since the last time they saw me, I was 13 and shorter." "Word about you traveled fast around the shinobi world," Ryota answered for him, "especially since you're a feared high S-class shinobi. You must have really made quite the impression on the people of Nami no Kuni," Anko said. "You seem to have that affect on everyone you come across." "Hey," Naruto replied, "I wasn't the only one who fought to protect this country. Kakashi Naizen and his team were there too in fighting against Geto and his thugs." "Modest aren't we?" Anko teased as she played with his unruly spiked hair. "This place holds no favorable memories for me whatsoever," Ryota interjected. "That's right," Anko realized, "this was where you and Yondaime Hokage first met when you were trying to kill him." "I had no real intentions of killing Naruto-kun," Ryota retorted, "that was, until he defeated me in a most disgraceful and humiliating way." "Being a pervert when required has its use," Naruto remarked. "Says you," Ryota shot back. "This coming from a kinky closet pervert who daydreams about whips, cuffs, and chains," Naruto countered. "Sounds like fun," Anko remarked with a mischievous smile on her face. Ryota frowned but said nothing, not seeking to add to Naruto's point. "We wasted enough time as it is," Naruto said, getting back on focus again. "Let's head over to Tajuna's place to see if he's okay." Ryota and Anko nodded their heads, and followed Naruto as they hurried over across the bridge to Nami no Kuni. Chapter 48, Dream Chasers. Back in Konoha, Hanabi was alone in the training ground practicing her jukin on a human-shaped punching bag. After another 10 minutes, she took a breath and walked away from the practice dummy to take a break. As she was walking towards the tree where her things were, a shuriken came flying at her. She barely managed to dodge the attack, as the shuriken grazed across her left arm. She clutched her now open and bleeding cut to see 3 Kumo, Cloud, Jounins standing behind her. "Hyuga Hanabi," said the first Kumo Jounin, we'd like for you to come with us with little to no resistance. The young Hyuga heiress got into her jukin stance and readied to fight. The hell I will. She cursed her misfortune in not wanting a cadet branch member to accompany her to the training ground outside Konoha. The girl was aware of the fact that Kumigakuer had sought to gain the Byakugan one way or another. Byakugan, Hanabi said as she activated her bloodline limit. The second Kumo Jounin noticed this and said, you wish to fight, little girl? Very well then. Let's test your jukin abilities. The first Jounin charged at Hanabi intending to take her out. Hanabi managed to bend backwards and avoid the attack before hurriedly thrusting forward and closing off two of his tenketsus. Jumping back, the Jounin looked back at the girl with an impressed look. Not bad for a young Hyuga, he said, it looks like I better not take you too lightly this time. Hanabi didn't give a reply as she waited for her attackers to come at her again. This time all three of them charged at her. Although this was more than what she could handle on her own, Hanabi was determined to not falter in her Hyuga spirit. She gave her all in fighting against the Kumo nins, however age and years of fighting experience proved to be the superior attributes against the young heiress. Unlike her older sister, Hanabi never actually engaged Jounin-level ninjas in death fights, nor did she have Hinata's level of skills or experience. This proved to be so when Hanabi was punched backwards and sent rolling onto the ground in a heap. Parts of her gunmetal-colored pants and shirt were dirty, slashed and covered in some of her blood, and Hanabi herself had cuts and bruises around parts of her body. She was in pain all over as she struggled to get back on her feet. Before she could, the lead Jounin rushed and kicked her to the side and rolled her to her back before holding her down with his foot pressing down on her chest. She screamed from the pain she felt from the weight of the bigger man's foot pressing down on her. You put up a good fight, young Hyuga, said the Kumo Jounin, but we have a job to do. We'll bring you back to Kumo and dash. The Jounin didn't get to finish when a kunai was thrown seemingly out of nowhere and buried deep into his head, right between the eyes. The Jounin fell backwards to the ground dead. What the hell, said the third Kumo Jounin before he and the other Jounin looked to see the second flash of Konoha standing before them with the wind blowing through his golden locks and trench coat making him look more majestic. Hanabi turned to see Naruto standing in front of her. Naruto-sama, Hanabi said lowly. Bastard, the second Kumo Jounin yelled as he prepared a lightning-based attack. He yelled and rushed at the blonde, hell-bent on killing the elite Jounin. Naruto merely grabbed the Jounin's arm and applied pressure to it before breaking it. The Kumo Jounin screamed out in pain before Naruto silenced him with a quick swipe at the man's throat with the use of a chakra scalpel, effectively severing all the muscles, tendons, and bones in the man's neck. The Jounin fell dead at Naruto's feet. Naruto deactivated the chakra scalpel and looked at the last Kumo Jounin standing there trying to look as intimidating as he could. Before the Jounin could do anything, Naruto disappeared in a yellow flash and instantly reappeared behind him and "Raise Non!" Naruto yelled out with a glowing spinning ball of chakra in his right hand. The spiraling ball was plunged into the Kumo nin's back before it shred and propelled him forward fast with a fierce and brutal force across the ground, and it dug into the earth. The Jounin crashed into a large boulder, severely battered and bleeding all over with his gear and uniform completely ruined and torn. He fell dead to the ground, leaving Naruto as the only ninja standing. The blonde went over to Hanabi with his right hand glowing with mystic green chakra. Kneeling down to her, he healed all of her injuries and stopped her pain. Are you alright, Hanabi-chan? Naruto asked with his trademark grin on his face. Hanabi blushed at the nickname he gave her. She nodded as she smiled back, I'm fine. Thank you, Naruto-sama. Naruto moved closer and lifted her up, carrying her bridal style, causing the young girl to blush redder as he held her closer to him. Don't worry, Hanabi-chan, Naruto assured with the same smile on his face, I won't let anything happen to you. I'll always be with you. Hanabi stared dreamily into his charming blue eyes. Do you really mean that, and Naruto-sama? Hanabi now found herself stuttering. Of course, Naruto smiled as he slowly leaned his face closer to hers, causing the young girl to blush crimson. After all, I will never let anything happen to you, my beautiful, voice change, daughter. Hanabi blinked on hearing that, and when she opened her eyes, she found her father's head on Naruto's body. She screamed and freaked out. At the Hyuga compound, Hanabi yelped as her eyes snapped wide open. She sat up speedily on her sleeping futon while clutching her pillow, believing it to be Naruto while she was dreaming earlier. She looked up at her father awkwardly as he looked back at her with a raised eyebrow. "Daughter," Hayashi said while standing at the door looking down at her. She shook the feeling away. "Yes, father." "When you're done having a moment with your pillow," Hayashi remarked with a touch of sarcasm, "get cleaned up and have your breakfast. Your training session will start soon after you've eaten your breakfast." "Yes, father," Hanabi said. Hayashi turned to leave when he added, "And do leave your pillow behind." That's when Hanabi realized she was still clutching her pillow close to her. Blushing, she threw it aside from her. Hayashi, with the slightest grin on his face, said nothing more as he slid the door closed, leaving his daughter alone in her room. "Damn it," Hanabi muttered in disappointment, "I should have known that it was a dream. It was too good to be true." She pouted about the dream not being true as she got up to get herself ready for the day. Later that day, Hanabi was practicing her Jukin kata with her father standing a couple of feet behind her while observing with his arms folded over his chest. Over the past couple of days, Hanabi became very much focused on her katas and sometimes she went hours practicing until she collapsed from exhaustion. Thought Hayashi was pleased with his youngest daughter determined dreams to improve herself. However, he saw that she was also preoccupied with something else as well. It was evident when he noticed that she made a few mistakes in her katas, ones that she normally wouldn't make. Moments later, Hinata walked into the training area of the compound to see Hanabi going through her katas. "Hanabi," Hayashi said cutting into her practice, "I've noticed that you've made some careless mistakes in your practice. This is not acceptable for someone of your abilities." "I'm sorry, father," Hanabi apologized as she bowed her father to her father, "I'll do my utmost to not allow that to happen again." The Hyuga clan leader maintained a calm expression before he turned to see his older daughter standing by one of the columns. "Hinata," Hayashi greeted. "Father," Hinata bowed in greetings to her father and then turning to her younger sister. Hanabi frowned at Hinata but bowed to her nonetheless. "Take a break, Hanabi," Hayashi said, "we'll resume your training later." Hayashi turned and walked over to his older daughter. Standing in front of her, the taller man looked at Hinata and said, "I must confess that things have been surprisingly different with you no longer living here. In all, it's nice to see you again." After saying that, Hayashi continued on his way inside the house. Hinata smiled brightly at the fact that her father had warmed up to her, although she wished he was more affectionate. Nevertheless, she was happy that her father no longer looked down at her as though she's weak and useless. Putting those thoughts to the side, Hinata turned to look back at Hanabi. "Nice to see you too, Ne-chan," Hanabi snorted, "what do I owe the honor?" Hinata sighed to herself, controlling her annoyance at Hanabi's behavior. "I wanted to see how you and the rest of the clan are doing," Hinata said, "I was hoping we could talk and do some catching up. I know being clan heiress must be a new challenge for you." "Rising to the occasion to take on challenges is what we Hyugas do," Hanabi replied, "and I'm not one to back down from any challenge." "You don't have to hide it from me, Hanabi," Hinata assured, "from what I saw earlier you were clearly distracted and frustrated about something." "What would you know?" Hanabi retorted. Hinata approached her and stood in front of her. "If you'd let me I'd like to help you," Hinata offered, "I'd like to see you improve and become better. One of my dreams is help change the Hyugas, our family, both main and cadet branch house alike, and I would very much like to start this by helping you." "I'm sure," Hanabi replied before changing the subject, "By the way, how's Naruto-sama doing?" "He's away on a mission," Hinata answered, "I'm not exactly sure when he'll be back. But I hope he's alright and that he comes back safely. I really want to see him again." "Yeah, me too," Hanabi said under her breath while slightly looking away. Hinata muttered as she looked at Hanabi questionably. "Well, he is the best and strongest shinobi of Konoha," Hanabi hurriedly replied, trying to cover up her previous mistake, "so naturally we all hope he returns in one piece, am I right? I'm sure everyone wants to see Naruto-sama again." Hinata saw through Hanabi's facade. The older Hyuga was aware of Hanabi's infatuation with Naruto, but she chose not to place her younger sister on the spot about it, believing that she'd grow out of it in time. Meanwhile, Shikamaru, Chuji, Kiba, Lee, Niji, Temari and Sai were making their way towards the main gate of the village. They were assigned by Tsunade to track down and retrieve Sasuke, who was reported by Sakura to have defected and ran away to Otagakure last night after she confronted him before he knocked her out. "This is so troublesome," Shikamaru complained with his hands in his pockets. "I can't believe I have to lead a team of 1 Chiryunin and 5 Genins just to bring back some runaway. I could think of better things to do with my time." "Shut up and quit complaining, you lazy ass," Temari spoke up. "At the very least, I'm looking forward to some action time. Besides, if I recall, we were told that we have to deal with this group known as the Sound Four. I doubt Tsunade-sama wouldn't have sent all 7 of us if this mission wasn't that dangerous." "It's said that Sasuke's flames grew cold," Lee said. "We must show him the folly of his unyouthful actions." "Please," Kiba interjected, "enough with the youth speeches. I just want to find and kick Sasuke's ass for abandoning Konoha and running away to an enemy village." Sai remained silent as he contemplated on everything that's happened thus far. Months earlier, his mentor, Danzo, had been the one to recommend Sai being placed on Team 7 as the dead last of Naruto's graduating ninja class. Sai's true purpose was to keep an eye on Sasuke, especially after what happened with regards to the Uchiha massacre years ago. Very few knew why the Uchihas were slaughtered, but Sai wasn't one of them, nor was Naruto. It was classified by the Council of Konoha as a SS-class secret during the reign of Yondaime Hokage. "I don't know how Sasuke could believe that he'll find what he's looking for in Otagakure that he couldn't find here in Konoha," Niji added in. "He dreams of finding a way to topple and defeat Naruto-kun," Sai stated, causing everyone to stop and turn to face him. "Are you serious?" Choji questioned while holding his bag of potato chips. Seeing how he caught everyone's attention, Sai continued, "I've kept my eye on Sasuke since I've been assigned to Team 7. Even during his days at the academy, I'm sure that all of you with the exception of Temari-san here have seen how Sasuke has been obsessed with Naruto-kun. He wants nothing more than to prove his strength and abilities against him. He believes that this village, his team, and the rest of us here has done nothing to help him become stronger and that all of us are hindrances to his advancements. He can't stand the fact that even with his Sharingan he's not on Naruto-kun's level, nor can he copy any of Naruto-kun's jutsus. He believes that through leaving Konoha and looking for an alternative to become stronger that he'll find a way to surpass Naruto-kun and ultimately have what it takes to bring about the death of the one responsible for the massacre of his clan." Everyone there stayed quieted as they digested the information given to them by Sai. When they stood there thinking about it, it made a lot of sense. The female Chiryunin among them wasn't too happy about this revelation. "That's what this is all about," Temari replied indignantly, "his ridiculous dreams and ambition to become better than my fiancé so he can get revenge against his older brother." "The Uchihas were always a most proud and arrogant clan," Sai added. "Years ago, there were high tensions between the Uchiha and Senju clan, and the Namikaze clan wasn't up for having the Uchihas using their Sharingan to copy their seals, which was why Yondaime later secured them and created jutsus and seals that couldn't be copied. From what Naruto-kun and I knew of them before their genocide by Ataka's hands, the Uchihas couldn't stand the idea of another clan being stronger than them. That asshole," Temari cursed, "when I get my hands on Sasuke, I'll shove my fan so far up his ass he'll think he can spit wind jutsus as his means of becoming stronger." Kiba and Choji started cracking up as he thought of what Temari graphically described. "This conversation is becoming more troublesome with each minute wasted here," Shikamaru cut it. "Let's get this mission started so I can return and go back to my cloud watching." "Put a sock in it," Temari retorted as she and the others resumed their mission. "First Naruto, then Ino, and now Temari," Shikamaru complained under his breath. "Troublesome blondes, and they're all engaged together to make matters worse." "I heard that," Temari said venomously with narrowed eyes at the shadow manipulator. Shikamaru placed his hands halfway up in surrender fashion, hoping Temari wouldn't vent her feminine rage on him. Turning forward, the group continued on their way. At the Hokage Tower, Tsunade was busy in her office doing the bane of all cages, paperwork. The last paperwork involving Sasuke's defections gave her more of a migraine than she wanted, not that she actually wanted a migraine from the start. If Sasuke was successfully brought back, she had a world of punishment in store for him. She snapped out of her train of thoughts when a knock came from the front door of her office. "Come in," Tsuade said before the door opened, revealing Sakura entering her office. "Sakura, why are you here?" Tsunade asked while writing in one of the documents, and make your explanation brief, I have a lot of work to do. Deciding not to waste the Hokage's time, Sakura took a breath and said, I want to become your apprentice. Tsunade stopped writing and looked up at the girl questionably. Excuse me. I want to be taken up as your apprentice, Sakura said. I want to become a medic nin and be skilled in healing and medic jutsus. The blonde Hokage wondered about the pink-haired Kunoichi's motives, and what makes you believe you're worth my time, Sakura. Though her words sounded rather harsh, however, Tsunade wasn't in the mood to have her time wasted and she wanted an excellent explanation. It was your son Naruto who made me acknowledge that I could become much more than what I am now, Sakura explained. After the events involving the Sunaoto invasion, I realized just how useless I truly am. Everyone else was able to contribute their skills to help out where they were needed, but there wasn't a thing I could have done to help. I'm tired of being a liability to everyone. I'm tired of always having to be the one who has to be rescued and watched over by my sensei and teammates. I'm tired of being useless when I'm needed most by my team, friends, the village, and everyone else who'd need my help. I want to change and become stronger for everyone, not just for myself. I'll work hard, study, train and practice for hours if I must. I'll do anything you ask of me. If Naruto was able to do it and use what he learned to help others, then I know I can too. Please Tsunade-sama, give me a chance to prove that I can become a suitable apprentice. Tsunade thought for a moment and contemplated on whether or not to take up Sakura as an apprentice. Well, her heart is in the right place, I'll admit that much, Tsunade thought before she spoke. All right. I'll give you a shot in taking you up as my apprentice. But here are the ground rules you'll obey, so listen carefully. Sakura stayed quiet as Tsunade continued. My son and future successor has over a decade of experience and training as a medic nin under my Enshizen's training, along with the fact that he outranks you. Therefore you'll refer to Naruto as senpai. Understand? Sakura nodded. Also, Tsunade stated, if I assign either Shizen or Naruto to supervise your training on days I can't make it, you'll follow their directions and instructions to the letter and complete the tasks they give you. I do not want to hear reports of you back-talking or showing acts of insubordination to either of them. Am I clear? Sakura nodded to her again. And I will not tolerate complaints about the difficulty of the training I'll give you. Let it be made very clear to you that I won't go soft or easy on you whatsoever. I'll run and grind you into the ground and back if that's what it'll take to get you to the level you dream to reach. You'll have to prove to me that you're worth training, eyes narrowed, because I have no interest in training fangirls who seek impress some boy they want to date, even if that young man is Naruto. Girls with such spirits give kunoichis a bad name. Sakura gulped and sweated nervously. She didn't miss the emphasized disgust Tsunade had about fangirl kunoichis. If I screw this up, Sakura realized, Tsunade-sama will definitely drop and dismiss me as her apprentice, and probably never take me up as an apprentice again. My son devoted a great deal of his time, energy, and soul in becoming the medic shinobi he trained to become under my Enshizen's training, Tsunade explained, and I'll expect no less from you. I understand completely, Tsunade-sama, Sakura bowed, and I'll do everything in my power to live up to all of your expectations of me. I'm happy to hear that, Tsunade replied. Report back here early tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock sharp. I'll give you a rundown of what your training will entail. Until then, you're dismissed. Thank you, Tsunade-sama. Sakura bowed again before she turned and exited the office, leaving Tsunade alone with her thoughts. The blonde slug princess leaned back in her chair as she rubbed the bridge of her nose and sighed. Taking her on as my new apprentice will add to the amount of paperwork I'll have to write up. Seeking to temporarily escape her dread of the additional paperwork that was to come as a result of taking Sakura on as her new apprentice, Tsunade opened her drawer and pulled out her bottle of sake and cup. Pouring herself a drink, she started sipping her sake. She repeated this until the bottle was half empty, causing her to eventually pass out over her desk. Her temporary escape from reality, however, wasn't without cost. Rest the poor soul who'd brave waking Tsunade up in the partially drunken stupor she was in, since her temper would certainly make her sober when she sees that the amount of paperwork she has to complete and catch up with that day was soon to be twice as much. Meanwhile, back in Nami no Kuni, Naruto wasted no time in making his way with Tajuna's house, with Anko and Ryota following close by. While on the way, he was counting on running into an ambush of some sort, but nothing happened thus far. He, Ryota and Anko made sure to stay out of sight so as to not draw attention to themselves. Currently, Naruto was focused on getting to his destination without having the populace being alerted to his presence. While staying out of sight, however, he took note on the drastic changes the country underwent since his last visit. He and the others saw many merchants from various other types locations doing business with the people, and everyone looked to be doing great. The food stores had plenty of fruits, vegetables, fresh fish stock and other kinds of foods being sold. The land didn't look poor anymore, and no one was begging or trying to steal whatever small pocket change they could get their hands on. There were others who were working together either doing construction or renovation work in repairing and restoring the buildings or their houses. This place really came a long way from the way I last saw it, Naruto thought as he continued on his way in the shadows with Anko and Ryota close by. A while later they arrived at their intended destination. He knocked on the door and waited for a response from inside the house. When the door opened, he was met by the man who employed him a few months ago. "Naruto-kun," Tajuna yelled happily as he embraced the teen shinobi into his arms. "Happy to see you too," Naruto replied, partly surprised that he didn't smell the scent of whiskey in the older man's breath. After the man let him go, he looked at Naruto to take a better look at him. "So it's really true," Tajuna said, "you've aged and grown overnight." Naruto snorted indignantly at the thought being aged. Ryota and Anko snickered at seeing Naruto's reaction. "That's a long story which can be explained later," Naruto said. Tajuna nodded as he looked over Naruto's shoulders to see the other two females who accompanied Naruto. "And whom might they be, Naruto-kun?" Tajuna inquired. "This is Mitarashi Anko-chan," Naruto said, gesturing to the older woman before turned to the earth-type Kunoichi, "and the younger one is Ryota." "It's a pleasure," Ryota replied. "Please come in, there's a lot I must discuss with you." Tajuna stepped away from the door, allowing the three ninjas to enter into his home. Upon entering, Naruto saw how much Tajuna's home have changed since his last visit. There were new furniture, new rugs, new dishes, and everything else to make the home look more welcoming. Tajuna and the three ninjas sat down in the living room before taking out a cup and bottle of whiskey. "I'll cut to the chase, Tajuna-san," Naruto asked. "We know that Sujiro kidnapped your daughter and grandson." The older man sighed as he placed his cup down. "So you know about it?" "It was Sujiro himself who sent me a message inviting me to battle him in exchange for your family's safety." "When did Sujiro get to kidnap your daughter and grandson?" "Several days ago," Tajuna started. "He came to my home with Inari tied up before taking my daughter hostage as well. He threatened that if I alerted anyone about what happened, he'd killed both Inari and Tsunami in front of me. The bastard." "Don't worry," Naruto assured, "we'll get your daughter and grandson to back. I give you my word as a ninja, and I never go back on my word." "I don't doubt that, Naruto-kun, I have complete faith in your abilities," Tajuna said. "I just want my family back safely. I especially didn't like the way that pervert was looking at my daughter before he kidnapped her. I hate to imagine what he'll do to her. Nato may not be a father, but he's seen from his experience with Tsunade how protective a parent could be for their children. They'd do and give anything for their children's safety and well-being. That bastard won't bring further harm to your daughter and grandson," Ryota assured. "Not if we can help it." "How far is this mountain the ancient temples of this country are?" Anko asked. "So you know about those old relics," Tajuna replied. "About a few hours' walk from here, though the mountains aren't all that big." "Why do you ask?" "That's where Sujiro told me to meet him tomorrow," Naruto said. "I'll fight him and get your family back, though Iwagakure will have a lot answer for when I'm through him." "I don't know how to repay you for doing this for us, Naruto-kun," Tajuna said. "I dash." "Think nothing of it," Naruto interjected. "Nobody hired us to rescue Tsunami-san and Inari. Besides, I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I were to ignore the danger your family is in just because there was no money to be made. You guys are worth a lot more to me than what money can buy." "Speaking of money," Tajuna said, "the village managed to raise the money we owe to you, Kakashi and his team, for the A-rank mission you guys did for us. I'll hand it over to you before you and your two friends begin your return back to your village." Naruto simply nodded. Later that night, Naruto was standing outside the house by himself. He paced around the beach with the waves continuously splashing onto the shores. While standing and looking out into the open sea, Naruto opened a pouch in his Jounin vest and pulled out the 2 medic vials in his pouch, the same ones he was working on the other day. No one knew what he was working on and he wanted to keep it that way for as long as had to. Naruto-kun, a feminine voice called out to him from behind. Naruto placed the 2 vials back into his pouch and closed it before turning to see Ryota making her way over to him. "What are you doing out here?" Ryota asked. Taking the opportunity to enjoy the fresh ocean sea, Naruto admitted, "It's not something we get to see in Konoha. It's a beautiful sight really." She went over and stood beside him at his left. Naruto remained silent as he listened to the sound of waves crashing onto the seashores. "How do you plan on beating Sujiro tomorrow?" Ryota asked. "Don't know really," Naruto answered, "since I never fought him before. Fighting him will bring in itself a whole new experience. It won't be like fighting you, that's one thing." "Why is that?" Ryota inquired. "Because ironically on someone like Sujiro, perverted tactics won't work," Naruto smirked. Ryota snorted at him before looking back at the sea. A few minutes later. "Naruto-kun." "Yes. There's something I seek to know from you," Ryota said. "And what is that?" Naruto asked. "Do you like me?" Ryota asked, going straight to the point as she turned to face him. "Say what?" "Do you like me?" Ryota asked again, deeply. "Yes or no?" Naruto was surprised at Ryota's directness. He was used to females seeking his attention and wanting his affections. Now here it was that a former IWA Jounin was putting him on the spot, seeking to find closure about where he stands in terms of how he sees her. "Ryota," Naruto asked as he now turned to face her, "why do you feel the way you do?" Gathering her thoughts together, Ryota replied, "I won't lie to you, Naruto-kun. Our past was anything but joyous. We started out as bitter enemies from villages that hate each other with the utmost passion, and I sought to hunt and bring you back to IWA after being assigned to do so. You had 2 occasions in which you could have ended my life, but you spared me on both occasions and even went as far as to heal all of my injuries even though I was your enemy. After my second defeat to you, I had nowhere else to go or anyone to confide in. I was completely alone and I couldn't return to Awagakure without going back unwelcome and in disgrace. So I became a missing nin and stayed in Konoha living off the remaining money I had left after stealing a Konoha Jounin uniform. I knew it wouldn't be long until I was discovered and dealt with, but I felt I had nothing left to lose. Back in the forest of death, I cried almost all night, believing and fearing that I was fated to die a lonely death with no one to mourn my loss. I believed it was my fate to die alone with no family, friends, or someone who loved me to mourn my loss. But your battle with Niji during the final part of the Chunin exams changed my way of thinking. After hearing everything you said to Niji, I saw that I too could change my future and not allow something like fate to predetermine my life. I couldn't think of a more appropriate time to change my future other than when your village fell under attack by Suna and Oto. If anything, I couldn't risk anything happening to you, which was why I sought you out after you went after Orochimaru. If you were to die that day, I knew I was going to die also because of the choker seal around my neck. But, I didn't want to die knowing I was alone and had no one in the end. Naruto looked at her curiously as she continued, I wanted to defy fate and give myself new dreams. I wanted to die knowing that in the end I wasn't alone. Even if we were enemies in the beginning, I wanted everyone who was there during your battle with Orochimaru to see me die knowing that I fought alongside you not as your enemy, but as your comrade and partner. I wanted to believe that at least one person from your village who saw me die alongside you would mourn my loss and see that we didn't die as enemies but as partners and friends. The blonde looked at the girl in amazement. He never in his life thought that he made such an impact on her life, but she made it clear to him that he did. Naruto had heard many times from others that he had an uncanny ability to change people for the good, but he never truly believed that he had such an ability to do so. He always believed that the said people had to already have the desire to want to change themselves for the good. In spite of our bitter past, Naruto-kun, Ryota continued, you've treated and done things for me that my former village never done for me. Because of you I now have a new home, a close friend in Haku, comrades among the Genins and a few of the Chiyunins and Jounins, and though it's not much yet, but I'm sure the villagers will come to accept me in time. You even risked your own life to save and protect mine. What I'm trying to say, Naruto-kun, is that I've developed affections for you despite that fact that there are other females in your life already. You're unlike any other guy I've ever met and I'll never find another guy like you. Naruto-kun, I love you. I honestly love you and I can't help feeling the way I do for you. One of my dreams is to stay and be with you. So tell me please, do you see me the same way you see Hinata, Ino, Temari, and Anko? Yes Naruto-kun, I know about you and Anko. The other night I caught you two kissing each other after I went inside our sleeping tent. I saw the way you two were looking at and flirting with each other. Naruto said nothing as she continued, I want to know if I could experience what they have with you. I want to know if you could look at me in any way you see the other females in your life. Naruto looked Ryota in her eyes. He always knew she had feelings for him but he never expected her to approach him in the manner she was doing so. It amazed Naruto that each of the girls she mentioned admitted their feelings for him in their own way. To be honest, Naruto calmly admitted, I can't and don't look at you the same way as I do the other girls you spoke of. Oh, Ryota said lowly as her head slowly dropped, fighting the urge to run off and cry her broken heart out as the tears burst forth from her eyes. It was something she had to hear even if she hated it. Is that how you truly feel? Yes, Naruto replied, I don't see you the same way as I see the other girls. On hearing that, Ryota was about to turn and dismiss herself from Naruto's sight when. Because I see you uniquely in a completely different light than from how I see the others, Naruto said. She turned her head sharply with tear-streaked eyes on hearing that. What do you mean? I don't see any of the four females you mentioned in the same light, Naruto explained, each of them are different and unique, and I see each of them in their own lights, including you. And what? Ryota asked, eager to know what else Naruto was going to say. Well, Naruto said while scratching the back of his head with a light blush on his face, you were right about something you said to me some time ago. She looked at him curiously, and that was. Naruto blushed a little more, in a few ways, you remind me of Kaa-chan. I knew it, Ryota replied with a wide grin as her mood completely did a 180, I always knew that was one of the reasons why you always wanted me around. You really are a mama's boy. And what does that say about you? Naruto countered, making the Earth-type Kunoichi think about what he was implying with regards to herself. That's right, in spite of how tough as you always portray yourself as, you're the kind of Kunoichi who goes after mama's boys. Ryota frowned with a heavy blush on her face after being made to see how her own words were used against her. Clenching her fists, she took a swing at Naruto, only for him to evade the assault. She chased after him throwing as many punches and kicks at him as she could. Well, this certainly brings back old memories, Naruto remarked before he blocked another punch from Ryota. I'll give you something to remember, Ryota grinned as she swung her foot to Naruto's head. However, the blonde knelt down, causing her leg to swing over his head before he delivered a spin kick to her left leg. The impact caused her to fall flat on her back. Before she could retaliate, Naruto pinned her to the ground with his face looking at hers. Down on the ground and at my mercy once again, Naruto grinned, now how familiar is this? Not familiar enough, Ryota remarked as she manipulated some of the sand and used it to push Naruto off her. When that was accomplished, she rushed at him, tackled him to the ground. Before he could get up, she pushed him back onto the ground on his back and brought her face to his before crushing her lips onto his. Naruto's eyes widened by this as he felt Ryota force his mouth open before sliding her tongue into his mouth and tangling it around his. She wrapped her arms around his shoulders as she dropped on full weight on top of his body as she felt him embrace and kiss her in return. A few minutes later, she pulled her lips away from his with a smile on her face. Never thought I'd share my first kiss with the son of the man despised by my former village, Ryota said, it's rather invigorating. As being on top of me, Naruto added. I can live with that, Ryota grinned, so long I'm the one on top. You'll have to get online for that, right girlfriend, another feminine voice said. Both Naruto and Ryota turned to see Anko grinning mischievously at them as she stood 2 feet from them. Ryota hurriedly got off Naruto, who rose back off the ground and dusted the sand off him. Getting frisky out here on the beach at this hour are we? Anko teased, and to think that I wasn't invited. Nothing of that nature happened, Naruto replied. Not from where I was watching, Anko added, you really have a way with women, Yondaime Hokage. The older woman went over and stood by Naruto. So you and Ryota came to terms with each other, Anko acknowledged, I wonder how everyone back in Konoha will react when they learn that a former IWA Kunoichi is now one of 5 of Naruto's favorite females. If they don't like it, then that's their problem, Naruto remarked. Besides, each of you love me for me and I love you all for who you are individually. Being with 5 females won't be an easy feat, Naruto-kun, Ryota said. As much as most males would love to be in your shoes, in truth being betrothed to 5 females won't be easy. Technically, Naruto corrected, I'm officially betrothed to 3 females in Konoha. You and Anko-chan are yet to be made official. But I'm surprised that you already declared both yourself and Anko-chan as my betrotheds. We might as well be Yondaime Hokage, Anko grinned as she moved closer and wrapped her arm around his waist while standing beside him. We're just 2 of the 5 closest females you got, though Shizune and Tsunade-sama are your mother and sister. Ryota went over and stood beside Naruto, also wrapping an arm around his waist. Living under one roof will be a challenge, Ryota remarked, but I'm happy to know that I'm not alone in this world anymore. For the rest of the time they were there, the trio just enjoyed each other's company while watching the crashing waves on the seawater. It wasn't until after another 15 minutes when they decided to return back to the house where Tajuna was waiting for them. Turning in, Naruto stationed several cage bushins to keep on guard around the house should they fall under a surprise attack. Anko and Ryota shared a room together while Naruto stayed in Inari's remodeled room. Naruto waited until Anko and Ryota fell asleep when he entered their room. Going over to Ryota, Naruto stood over her sleeping form and after coming to a decision, he pricked both his left and right index fingers, causing small droplets of blood to run down his 2 fingers. He then raced through a complex series of hand signs before clasping his hands together in a seal form. Blue chakra then appeared around Naruto's glowing hands and infused into the droplets of blood from his fingers, causing the chakra to turn whitish purple. The chakra then made its way over to Ryota's neck, wrapping around it. Funjutsu, Kyubiwa Fujin, Kai, sealing technique, choker seal, release, Naruto said lowly as the chakra temporarily glowed brighter around her neck, infusing into the seal. The seal glowed and dissolved into the chakra. After the seal completely dissolved, the chakra returning back to Naruto's glowing hands. The chakra soon died out and Naruto's cuts on his fingers closed up. Seeing that his task was done, Naruto dismissed himself from the room and returned back to Inari's room. Ryota was finally freed from her choker seal. While in the boys' bedroom, Naruto looked around and found the repaired picture of Inari, Tsunami, Tajuna, and the man once known as Kaiza. Looking at another picture frame, Naruto found that it was a picture of him being hugged by Inari the day he was to depart from Nami no Kuni and back to Konoha. On the bottom of the frame was the inscription, "My greatest inspiration and role model." I'll get you and your mother back, Inari, Naruto swore to himself, and that's a promise. Going over to the bed, Naruto lied down on it and rested on his back before sleep finally embraced him. He knew that tomorrow was going to be a long day. Meanwhile, back in the temple up in the mountains, Inari and his mother, still tied up with diamond-made ropes, were sleeping on the ground up against the wall when Sujiro came and gave them a rude awakening by smacking them hard a couple of times before they woke up. "What the hell do you want now?" Tsunami hissed. "I have good news for you too," Sujiro replied. "Naruto is here in Nami no Kuni and is currently at your father's house. He'll be making his way here tomorrow." Inari was instantly wide awake on hearing that. "Now you'll be sorry. I told you he'd come for us." "And that's bad news for him," Sujiro remarked sinisterly. Inari looked at him defiantly, "And what's that supposed to mean?" "Like I said before, you two will be the ones to help me fulfill my dreams in bringing about Naruto's undoing." Sujiro turned to his left and signaled to the figure in the shadows to come forward. The figure stepped into the light and chamber, revealing herself. She was an IWA Kunoichi dressed in standard IWA Jounin uniform and gear. "Tsuchiko-chan," Sujiro said, "if you may, please get to work in putting your medic expertise to good use." Nodding, Tsuchiko went over to the 2 captives and took out an injection needle. She sprayed a few of the liquid contents out of it to make sure that there was no air in the needle. "Don't worry," Tsuchiko smiled, "I'll make this experience as painless as possible." Chapter 49, Battle Lines. The next morning, in Uegakure, the IWA nins were going about their daily lives. The future genins were heading to the academy, and ninjas were various ranks were performing their assigned duties. Speaking of ninjas, it was noted that some ninjas haven't been seen for the past couple of days. Some took it that it was because of the missions they were assigned to that had several days if not a few weeks duration. At the Tsuchikage Tower, an unscheduled meeting was about to take place in the office of the Tsuchikage. The leader of Uegaku, sitting behind his desk with heaps of paperwork, was just catching up with his work when he decided to check up on his tomboyish Medicnin niece whom he haven't heard from in the past couple of days. Kaori, the Tsuchikage called out to his secretary. The young pretty-looking woman with long blonde hair in her mid-twenties appeared through the door and bowed before her leader. "Yes, Tsuchikage-sama," she asked. The Tsuchikage responded, "Summon my niece Tsuchiko into my office." Kaori gave him a perplexed look. "Tsuchikage-sama, don't you remember?" "Remember what?" He gave her a questioning look. "You sent Tsuchiko on a high-priority S-rank mission with Sujiro." "When was this?" The Tsuchikage replied with his anger slowly rising regardless of his calm demeanor. Kaori gulped in fear when she realized the situation. "This was a week ago. I don't recall assigning my niece to such a mission with Sujiro." The secretary went to one of the file cabinets and retrieved what looked like a classified mission folder. She went over and handed it to him before he opened the folder and reviewed its contents. The atmosphere dropped rapidly as she felt a massive bloodlust radiating from her leader. "What?" yelled the Tsuchikage in outrage. The secretary standing in front of him cringed in fear for her life. "Sujiro left several days ago with a written document authorizing dash." "I understand," the Tsuchikage cut her off, "but I gave no authorization for such a mission and him taking my niece along with him only makes matters worse. This is treason." The secretary stood there hoping her leader wasn't planning on taking his rage out on her since she was the one who was shown the documents with the Tsuchikage's signature and seal on it. By now Konoha already knows of Sujiro's intentions, the Tsuchikage growled. "His actions will trigger another great shinobi war, and we'll have not only Konoha to deal with but also Suna backing them up. As much as I'd love to crush Konoha, however, we don't have the manpower to deal with them, and Ryuta's siding with them only serves as another disadvantage." "What will you have me do, Tsuchikage-sama?" the secretary asked. After thinking it over momentarily, he explained, "Here are my orders, and I want no mistakes." Meanwhile, many miles away, Shikamaru, Tamari, and the rest of the team were still in pursuit of Sasuke and the Sound 4. Kiba was up front, Shikimaru was behind him, Tamari behind him, Chuji behind Tamari and Niji behind Chuji, using the Byakugan to make sure they weren't being followed. It didn't take long for them to start to catch up. They came across two Jounins, one of them the examiner for the main matches. The two were injured, but not in mortal danger. The team had no choice but to continue anyway, leaving the two behind. "We're gaining on them," Kiba said, and Shikamaru nodded. They stopped in a tree and Shikamaru turned to Niji. "Can you use your Byakugan to scout ahead?" he asked, and Niji nodded. "Byakugan," Niji said, and veins around his now white eyes pulsed and pumped. "There are 4 of them. I don't see Sasuke, however there's a big barrel that I can't see into. It's protected by some advanced seals, but I assume Sasuke is in there. They seem to be resting, probably from a fight with enemies that they came across." Shikamaru nodded. "All right, let's go." They moved out again, although much more cautiously, in case of traps. Back in Nami no Kuni, Naruto and his 2 female Jounin comrades left Tajuna's house and started on their way up to the mountains. So far the trek to their destination was in silence and neither said a word to each other. Naruto was deep in though as he wondered exactly what he was supposed to expect from the fight he was going to face against Sujiro. "Stop," Ryuta called out. Naruto and Anko stopped walking and turned to the Earth-type Kunoichi. "What it is?" Anko asked. "We're not alone," Ryuta warned as she scanned the area. "This land was recently disturbed. Looks like your skills haven't waned since your desertion from our village, traitor," said a feminine voice before a team of ninjas burst from out of the ground, all of them having the crest of IWA on their forehead protectors. "Tsuchiko," Ryuta snarled, "what an unpleasant surprise." "The feeling's mutual, bitch," Tsuchiko remarked. Ryuta was tempted to charge at the Kunoichi, but her experience in fighting Naruto kept her from doing something that reckless. "I take it you guys are the welcoming crew," Naruto spoke up. "I have to hand it to you for risking all or nothing in coming out to face us." Naruto, Anko interjected, don't waste your time fighting here. Go on ahead of us. The blonde turned to the older woman who looked back at him with a serious look. Ryota and I will deal with these bastards, Anko added, go and rescue your friends. You will be of no use to them if you go there tired and with depleted chakra. Naruto nodded, just be careful. He jumped to one of the trees and took off. One of the IWA Jounins was about to pursue him when. Leave him, Tsuchiko ordered. But dash. Sujiro's orders, Tsuchiko reminded, he'll deal with Naruto in his own way. Besides, another IWA Jounin interjected, we get to settle an old score with the one who betrayed us and sided with the village of our greatest enemy. Tsuchiko stood several feet away from Ryota. Both kunoichis faced each other with hardened expressions, neither showing that they were going to back down. Anko stood there while wondering who was going to initiate the attack first. I knew about Chizuru, your older sister, Tsuchiko said with a hint of sorrow in her voice. From what I heard about her, she was one of Iwa's most loyal and promising ninjas. If she was alive today, she would have been ashamed of what you've become, Ryota. Ryota said nothing in response. Why? Tsuchiko asked, why did you betray us, your own people, and break your allegiance to Uegakuer? Unlike my sister, Ryota retorted, I at no time pledged any form of allegiance to you, the Tsuchikage or Uegakuer as a whole. I had nothing and no one in IWA to swear allegiance to. Therefore, I betrayed no one. Tsuchiko was seething, being enraged by Ryota's words, you betrayed the honor and legacy of your own sister. You betrayed everything she lived and died for. Don't even start to judge me, Tsuchiko, Ryota replied while keeping her own emotions in check, you speak of me betraying the honor and legacy of my older sister. But from what my life has shown me, no one in IWA lifted a finger to help me after the death of my sister. I wasn't looked at as the little sister of Chizuru, no. I was looked at as the apprentice of the traitor Deidara. And you did nothing proved them wrong, Tsuchiko remarked, instead, you've proven them right in becoming just like your sensei, a traitor through and through, the very man responsible for killing your older sister in front of you. Ryota snarled on being reminded of that. And to make matters worse, Tsuchiko continued, you sided with the son of the Yellow Flash, the man responsible for killing your father and our brethren during the Third Great Shinobi War. You disgust me, Ryota. I'll never forgive you. I don't remember asking for your or Iwa's forgiveness during this conversation, Ryota stated, last year when I was nearly raped by that asshole Sujiro, everyone took his side and left me to fend for myself. Since my sister's death and Deidara's betrayal, I had to rely on myself to get stronger and become a capable ninja. No one was willing to teach or guide me, or take me into their homes. I had no family, friends, or comrades. For a time I used to believe that my sister would have hated and been ashamed of me for deserting IWA and siding with Konoha. But now that I think about it, if anyone betrayed anyone, it was you, the Tsuchikage and Uegakuer as a whole that betrayed both me and my older sister in letting what happened to me take place during my days in that village. My sister didn't die out of loyalty to IWA, she sacrificed herself because of her love for me. I was precious to Chizuru and she was willing to give her life to protect me from Deidara so that I could have a future. Since then, no one in IWA honored Chizuru's sacrifice. No one took sympathy for what happened to me. Instead, all of you turned your backs on me and left me to rot like a common criminal. I'd have surely died if it wasn't for my self-determination and ambition to make something of myself. My sister would have wept to her grave if she was alive to see what IWA has done to me. Though Chizuru is dead, her legacy has and will always live on through me, not through IWA. Tsuchiko growled at Ryota with contempt. Anko was surprised to hear the things that were coming out of Ryota's mouth. She suffered the same way I did, Anko thought as she looked at the younger Jounin. She was betrayed by her own sensei like how I was, and she was hated by her own people for the crimes her sensei have done, just like how I was hated. But I had the Sandaime, Kurane-chan, a few of the other Jounins, and Naruto-kun there for me. Ryota had no one. She was truly alone. My ties are and will always be with Naruto-kun, Ryota stated solidly, he's done more for me than anyone else. I love him and I'll be damned if you think IWA will have their way with him. Anko then sensed a strong bloodlust that radiated off of Tsuchiko. So you're in love with the son of the Yellow Flash, Tsuchiko declared. From this day forward, you'll never be considered as part of IWA nor will you ever be welcomed back. You will answer for your crimes. Ryota raced through a series of hand seals before her rock sword formed in her right hand. She grabbed and swung it a few times to get the feel of it. Enough talk. It's time to fight. Let's go, one of the IWA Jounins yelled as they charged at the two Konoha Kunoichis. Anko smiled sadistically, racing through ideas on how brutal she was going to make them meet their deaths. Tsuchiko ran directly to Ryota and pulled of her own sword. Meeting up with her, the medic Jounin engaged Ryota in a fierce sword-to-sword combat. The two female combatants slashed and parried each other through the midst of the seemingly one-sided fight. Meanwhile Anko was dealing with her share of enemies as she dodged and evaded one attack from another. I'm going to enjoy putting you IWA-nins deep into the ground where you belong, Anko remarked with a twisted smile on her face before taking one of her kunaus and thrusting it into the head of one of the IWA Jounins. She ran and retrieved the kunau from his head. I'd lick your blood, Anko said, but your taste is too foul for my liking. Bitch, screamed one of the Jounin, you'll pay for that. Anko ran through a set of hand seals before vipers appeared from out of the sleeves of her trench coat. Come make me, Anko challenged as she thrust her arms forwards with the vipers charging toward the IWA Jounins. Meanwhile, Naruto was jumping speedily from tree to tree. Part of him wanted to go back and help Anko and Ryota, but he knew that they understood the risk and willingly chose to hold off the main force while he went after Sujiro himself. He heard a loud explosion from behind him a moment later. Looks like the party started back there, Naruto said to no one in particular as he continued on his way to his destination. After another while, Naruto arrived at what looked like an ancient temple built inside a mountain. This must be the place, he said as he started walking toward the entrance. He cautiously made his way to the entrance when he saw a diamond of some sort hanging from above the entrance. Naruto was wary of the diamond as he continued on his way into the temple. Inside the temple. Looks like Naruto made it on time, Sujiro said while holding his diamond kunau in his hand. Now we'll see what he's truly capable of. He turned to two figures in the shadows. You know what to do. They nodded and took off from his sight. Sujiro grinned maniacally, with a sure smile believing that victory would be his. Naruto was still walking through the darkened ancient ruins of the temple, which was lit up by torches undoubtedly made by Sujiro. While walking through the labyrinth-like temple, the blonde was surprised and amazed by the temple's size and architecture. He noticed a number of seal writings inscribed on the walls and columns, leaving him to wonder what the temple was made for long ago. My father would have had a field day trying to decipher these seals, Naruto thought to himself. He unconsciously placed his hand over his stomach and sighed, I wonder why I still can't summon him. My chakra coils have been restored for the most part and yet I still can't connect to my father. Though Naruto never really talked about it, he missed his conversations with his father, although there were times Naruto got into disputes with Minato with Kyuubi sometimes playing the role of the instigator. Since the battle with Orochimaru, Naruto had been unsuccessful in reconnecting a link with his imprisoned father and since then, he's been doing everything pretty much on his own without his father guiding him every step of the way. From being an elite Jounin, a Jounin sensei, a clan leader, and a member of the village council, Naruto had to perform all of those tasks without Yondaime being there to help and advise him. Ironically, the more Naruto thought about it, the more Naruto felt proud of his accomplishments. He started looking at his father's absence to be more like training in developing his maturity and making him stronger. Naruto was so engrossed with his train of thoughts that he momentarily failed to notice two figures following him in the shadows. His awareness was rekindled when a glint of light caught his eyes. He dodged a kunau aimed for his chest as he saw it embed itself into one of the columns. Looks like Anko-chan's habit of throwing kunaus at me while on my free time came in handy, Naruto thought as he readied himself for another attack. He saw two figures appear in front of him, one taller than the other. The guest of honor has arrived, Sujiro said as he entered the scene, standing on top of one of the pillars to Naruto's left. Naruto turned and looked up to see the IWA Jounin. You must be Sujiro, Naruto said, you're saved me the trouble of finding you. I'm happy you see it that way, Sujiro remarked, though it won't truly be in your favor. The two figures stepped out of the shadows and into the light. Naruto's eyes widened when he saw the two figures in front of him. It can't be, Naruto stuttered as he looked upon the young male and older female in front of him in IWA ninja uniform and gear. What's wrong, Naruto? Sujiro asked with mock concern. I show you the people you came to see and you react like this. Standing before Naruto were Inari and Tsunami, in ninja clothes and gear. They were looking at Naruto with emotionless expressions. How do you like my work? Sujiro said. I've turned them into my personal instruments for your death. Of course neither of them was trained to be ninjas of either of our levels. But I've managed to compensate for that with the bodies I've integrated them into. The boy talked so much about what it means to be a ninja, so I granted his wish. Naruto closed his eyes tightly as his canines grew in length. 3 jagged whisker marks appeared on both sides of his face. He reopened his eyes, revealing red eyes with cat-like slits in them. Naruto abhorred many things, but among the top ones he truly despised, was innocent people be used as instruments and someone's weapon, especially those who were family and friends to him. You've made several fatal mistakes during these past days, Naruto made clear, and using those precious to me as your weapons is an unforgivable mistake. Inari and Tsunami charged at Naruto. This is bringing back painful memories, Naruto thought, recalling his battle with Shodai, Yondaime, Hokage, and Dan. His train of thoughts was derailed when a fist came his way from Inari. Naruto sidestepped Inari and karate chopped him to the back on the neck. The young boy fell to the ground seconds before his mother appeared and performed a roundhouse kick to Naruto's head. The blonde however leaned backwards, allowing her leg to harmless swing over him. Inari got him and joined his mother in attacking Naruto. The blonde jumped away and punched the ground hard, causing a small tremor to occur. Inari and Tsunami lost their balance momentarily before Naruto dashed at them and hit pressure points on their bodies. The pressure points hit wasn't to kill them, rather, it was to immobilize them. His efforts though proved unsuccessful as Inari and Tsunami got back up off the ground, looking as though nothing happened. What? Naruto said in surprise, they shouldn't be standing after hitting the pressure points I struck them at. I told you, Sujiro said, I integrated them into special bodies. You won't be taking them out that easily. Sujiro performed some hand seals and Kongosuken no jutsu, Sujiro said before his eyes sparkled and changed as they crystallized. What jutsu is this? Naruto thought as he watched Sujiro's eyes morph into a diamond-like substance. I will not go down so easily, Namikaze, Sujiro said, you will die by my hands and with the aid of your own precious people. Damn, Naruto swore after seeing his situation. He only hoped that he wouldn't have to resort to using either Fuka-Fusion or Shiki-Fusion to stop them. Naruto knew that there would be no return if he used either of those two S-rank Kinjutsu Ujus. And he couldn't use Sozo Saigen either since it would kill him also in sealing away his life force. Putting those thoughts aside, Naruto wondered what Sujiro's new eyes were capable of doing. All the while with Shikamaru and his team. Things didn't go the way they would have liked it to have gone. First, they had been stopped by the Fetotonin of the Sound 4, Jirobo. He first had trapped them in a dome of dirt, where he sucked out their chakra. Chuji managed to break out using his family jutsu. Chuji told the others to go on ahead while he took on Jirobo himself. Though personally taking offense to being called fat by Teiwa, Jirobo called Chuji fat near constantly during their battle. This, among others reasons, goaded Chuji into using his trump card in swallowing a large portion of soldier pills, giving him superior strength and allowing him to kill Jirobo with ease with a massive punch to his chest. Chuji though collapsed from an excessive loss of body fat and chakra after using his trump card. Secondly, Niji took on the spider-type ninja of the Sound 4, Kidomaru. He referred to Niji as a trash character, whom he believed would be the first to die. During their battle, Kidomaru slowly picked up on a blind spot in Niji's defenses, and proceeded to focus his attacks on that point. Despite successfully striking this blind spot, Niji was able to recover from the attack and he killed Kidomaru. Though Niji won his battle against the Kidomaru however, he suffered from severe wounds and injuries. Kiba and Akamaru fell into a ravine where they had to deal with the grey-haired Otonin, this one being Seikon and his older brother Yukon whom he fused with. Just as the two merged brothers were about to finish off Kiba and Akamaru after a fierce battle, Kankuro appeared and gave Kiba and Akamaru a helping hand after rescuing them. The Sunanin dealt the death blow to Seikon and Yukon after trapping them in one of his puppets and using pieces of his other puppets to stab them to death with. Shikamaru, Temari, Lee, and Sai caught up to the red-haired foul-mouthed girl who now was carrying the barrel. This one was Teiwa. But some other Otonin came and took the barrel. Shikamaru and Temari had stayed behind to fight the Teiwa while Lee and Sai had gone ahead. The only weapon Teiwa was equipped with was a flute, thus she would avoid close combat at all costs. With her flute Teiwa controlled 3 demonic beasts that she summoned to her side during battle. Though primarily intended to perform the physical attacks she avoids, the beasts was also able to make ethereal, snake-like creatures that consume an enemy's chakra. Once weakened in this way, Teiwa could trap them in illusions she would create with her flute. She attempted to use her many long-range techniques against Shikamaru and Temari, though his superior intelligence forced Teiwa to rely on brute strength to gain victory. Though she almost succeeded, Temari created a windstorm using her weasel summoning jutsu that crushed and killed Teiwa under a pile of debris. Shikamaru came out with a broken finger, but other than that, he was okay. Lee and Sai had caught up with the new Otonin, Kimimaro it was, just as the barrel burst and Suzuki came out. Before either Lee or Sai could say or do anything, Suzuki had speedily started running off. Kimimaro had stepped into Lee's way, demanding information on Naruto's location. Sai took this momentarily distraction as his opportunity to pursue the runaway genin. Lee, after his refusal to stoop to being unyouthful in revealing any information about Naruto, engaged Kimimaro in fierce taijutsu combat. Kimimaro used his hard bones as his weapons after the taijutsu genin. Later Gaara made the appearance and provided Lee with some assistance. Just as he was about to kill both Gaara and Lee, Kimimaro died by the hand of his illness after it completely took away the last breaths of his life. Sai, after catching up with Suzuki, was now staring at the runaway Uchiha, who stood on the head of the giant statue of Madara at the Valley of the End. "So, you came to stop me," Suzuki taunted as he gave a defiant smirk to Sai. The pale-skinned teen ninja gave the Uchiha no reply. "You're wasting your time coming this far after me," Suzuki added before activating his Sharingan. "I'm warning you, turn back now." Sai sensed that Suzuki's chakra didn't feel the same, it felt like a cross between Suzuki's and something else, something evil. Also, the way Suzuki held himself spoke of one thing, confidence. Suzuki had always been arrogant, but now he looked like he felt like he was the strongest there was. Sai knew that even Suzuki at his most conceited, knew that he wasn't the strongest. However, this Suzuki was different. "So you're betraying Konoha for Oto," Sai stated as a matter of fact. "I grew up," Suzuki remarked, "that pathetic village only held me back while everyone else was too busy kissing Naruto's ass. I will never be strong in that place and it won't give me the strength I need to beat my brother. Only in Otogakure will I get what I need." Suzuki vanished from Sai's sight. Sai's eyes widened as Suzuki reappeared behind him. Suzuki moved forward to punch Sai in the back. However, Sai ducked forward and spun his body with his right leg out, delivering it hard and swiftly into Suzuki's face. Suzuki was sent flying to the side, but he flipped in the air and landed down on his feet. Suzuki rubbed his face after feeling the pain that came from Sai's counter-attack. "You are both weak and stupid, Suzuki," Sai stated. "I don't think you realize that like Naruto-kun, Itaki also became powerful in Konoha." Sai reached for his backpack and pulled out his scroll and ink brush. Speedily opening his scroll, Sai prepared to paint. "The other week," Sai said, "I recall Naruto-kun giving us a speech about those who didn't have it in them to deal with comrades that turned traitor and how such actions allowed those traitors to do more damage than good. He also added how he himself had to fix the mistake those two ninjas made at his own personal expense." Suzuki's eyes narrowed. "I believe he was implying that we wouldn't want him as our enemy," Sai added, "because he has zero tolerance for traitors, and that we must do what we have to stop those who betray us and our village." "Was that supposed to frighten me?" Suzuki asked coldly. "I don't deal in frights," Sai said, "it isn't my style, you gutless little homo." Suzuki snarled on hearing that statement directed at him. "Before we had set out to find you," Sai continued, "Sakura-san asked and begged me to bring you back. She wanted me to promise that I do whatever I can to return you." Suzuki said nothing to that. "Though I didn't make such a promise to Sakura-san, however," Sai said, I told her that I would do what I can to return you to Konoha. Sai raced his paintbrush across his scroll, drawing up several large reptilian beasts. Forming a hand sign, Sai brought his artwork to life and aimed them at Sasuke. But I never said I'd bring you back in one piece, Sai remarked coldly as his beasts charged at Sasuke, or alive for that matter. Sasuke growled venomously as Sai's creations came his way. Back in Nami no Kuni, inside the temple. The battle was fierce. Inari and Tsunami proved to be more of a nuisance to Naruto than a challenge. Sujiro jumped into the fight whenever he saw an opening. The Iwa Jounin found Naruto to be more of a challenge than he gave him credit for. Sure, he heard many things about the blonde elite Jounin, but that was all the more why he sought to bring about Naruto's undoing. With his Keshugan and the specially designed crystals he placed around the temple, Sujiro was able to follow and anticipate many of Naruto's movements and counter them. Those eyes of his are really getting on my damn nerves, Naruto thought. It's similar to the Uchiha's Sharingan, except he can't copy any of my jutsus. Grinning, Sujiro started gathering energy into his glowing eyes. He's up to something, Naruto said to himself. A moment later, Sujiro, after focusing the light energy in his eyes, fired a powerful laser beam from his eyes and into Naruto's direction. Shit, Naruto cursed before he ran from the beam as it came and destroyed whatever it touched with explosions following thereafter. The blonde ran all around the area dodging the beam and falling debris that blew into his way. Grabbing one of the large slabs that fell to the ground, Naruto threw it into Sujiro's direction. Seeing the slab coming his way, Sujiro used his optic beam to destroy the large slab, with some of the debris falling to the side and behind him. That was when Naruto shunshined behind Sujiro and brought his fist into the back of his head, sending the Iwa Jounin flying across the surface of the ground. Naruto had placed a seal marker on the slab earlier before throwing it at Sujiro, which was why he was able to teleport to him. Bastard, Sujiro cursed mentally after pulling himself together and getting up off the ground. Sujiro charged at the elite Jounin with his diamond kunais in hand. Naruto however jumped forward, while grabbing Sujiro's arm. Using his forward momentum, Naruto swung Sujiro and slammed him into a large column, beating him like a rag doll. He lifted Sujiro into the air and slammed him into the column again. He was about to do it again, but Sujiro twisted around and punched Naruto's wrist. Naruto felt his wrist snap, forcing him to let go and jump back. Naruto hurriedly used his chakra to heal his wrist. Sujiro just stood there with the arrogant smirk on his face. How does it feel knowing your attacks aren't hurting me as much as you'd like them to? Sujiro laughed. I have my eyes to thank for that. It's not an actual bloodline, but I got this ability through extensive experiments and research with diamonds and crystals. I have you on the ropes, Naruto. Sujiro laughed again. That's my chance, Naruto thought once he finished healing his wrist. Sujiro took a ready stance, still with the arrogant smirk, and activated his Keshugan again. Naruto ran towards Sujiro, much faster than Sujiro thought he could, and punched towards the diamond fang. Sujiro dodged, but since his attention had been on the charging Naruto, he couldn't evade the kick from Naruto's cage bunshin that had been hiding in his shadow. The kick struck Sujiro in the head and sent him flying down from the balcony and down into the running waters below. Naruto jumped after and landed agilely on the water, watching as Sujiro rose to the surface and climbed onto the surface of the water. Sujiro was surprised while not letting it show in his expression. Damn! He managed to hit me, even with my eyes. Impossible, Sujiro thought in formed seals. Just then Inari and Tsunami jumped off the platform above the two Jounins and charged downward toward them. The two of them took Naruto on in combat with diamond kunais in their hands. Sujiro jumped in to triple team Naruto. The blonde, using his experience in fighting ninja of greater skills than his, counterattacked, knocking Inari and Tsunami away from him, punching them both into the solid walls and out of the water. As much as it pained him, however, Naruto couldn't allow sentimentality to cloud his judgment. Naruto turned and threw 7 shurikens towards Sujiro. Sujiro dodged the shurikens, which was thrown so that they forced him to run in a half circle, losing his sight of Naruto. When Sujiro had evaded the shurikens, he looked around for Naruto, but didn't see him. Sujiro scanned the area, but still no Naruto. In a final-ditch attempt to see the elusive blonde, Sujiro pumped as much chakra into his eyes as he could. Suddenly he couldn't see straight at all, before his vision became clearer than ever. What? Oh, I see. There he is, Sujiro thought, seeing Naruto wearing a transparency jutsu, which Jiraiya taught him a few months ago. Sujiro charged and Naruto tried to hit him, but Sujiro saw every motion before it was done and dodged before countering with a blow to the stomach. He was surprised when Naruto puffed out in a cloud of smoke. How the, Sujiro's thoughts was rather brutally discontinued with a foot slamming into his chin, knocking him upwards in the air. Several Naruto clones followed up and shunshined to Sujiro, kicking him higher and higher. Sujiro opened his eyes and saw a Naruto on his way towards him, leg extended for a kick. Namikaze Naruto Renden, Naruto called and slammed his foot into Sujiro's face. The IWA Jounin was sent spiraling down towards the flowing water channel below, but twisted in the air and landed on the surface of the water. Sujiro dashed off towards the Naruto Kage Bushins landing on the water, hitting them and inwardly cursing each time one puffed into smoke. When he hit the last one, Sujiro was shocked to see that it too puffed into smoke. Where the hell is that bastard? Sujiro thought frantically. Naruto was nowhere in sight. Sujiro, using his crystallized eyes, turned around in circles to keep from being caught in the back. What he didn't however anticipate was to be grabbed by the ankles before another Naruto clone burst from the waters and delivered a solid uppercut to his jaw, sending him flying from the waters and into the rocky walls of the ancient temple. Naruto appeared behind Sujiro, and slammed his fist into his back. Sujiro was forced into the air again with the pain that came from Naruto slamming his fist into his back. He was sent flying over the waters as Naruto followed. Sujiro heard faint puffing sounds and soon found himself being assaulted over and over again by Naruto clones who went past him. Punch after punch landed on Sujiro's body. He could see them, but when he blocked punches, the clones would kick him, or some new clones would come out of nowhere. Sujiro, after receiving a brutal thrashing, landed on his face on the surface of the water. This is impossible. I can't be beaten by the son of the Yellow Flash. Alright, let's see what my power can really do against him, Sujiro thought. You're really good Yellow Flash, Sujiro said, implying mockery to the title Yellow Flash, but now I think it's time I fight for real. Now that I've gauged you, I won't hold back against you. Naruto, standing on the water some distances away from him, gave the Jounin no reply. Sujiro ran through a series of seal patterns that Naruto wasn't familiar with. The blonde stayed alert while wondering what the IWA Jounin was up to. He felt a strong increase in Sujiro's chakra. He's up to something, Naruto acknowledged. You will see why I'm called Iwagakure's Diamond Fang, Sujiro declared as he started glowing in a shiny bluish-white glow with diamond-like crystals spreading all around his body. His crystallized eyes became more bluish-white. Sujiro grew in size and mass with a sinister smile on his face. Naruto looked uneasy at this development. When Sujiro stood up on the water again, a large razor-sharp crystal blade grew from out of Sujiro's right arm and another from his left. Sujiro stood well over 8 to 9 feet in height, towering over Naruto with his Hulk-like size. The hell, Naruto thought with widened eyes, he's like a giant walking statue of diamonds. Indeed, Sujiro hardened and crystallized his entire body. A moment later, Inari and Tsunami jumped back onto the water and stood side by side with Sujiro. With this form of mine, I'll crush you, Sujiro said with a deepened voice. Many whom I came against in battle after using this form never lived to tell of this transformation to anyone. You'll be one of them, son of the Yellow Flash of Konoha. Naruto cracked all the bones in his hands and neck before he slid into his ready-to-fight stance. His reddened cat-slit-like eyes looked at Sujiro with unwavering defiance. I have no choice, Naruto realized, seeing that it was time for decisive action. I have to resort to using that kinjutsu. Forgive me, Kaa-chan. Chapter 50, A Rock and a Hard Place. Back in Konoha, Ino was tending to the flowers and plants in the back of her parents' flower shop. Things have been rather quiet since Naruto and the others' departures. News of Sasuke's defection had spread all around Konoha and many were gossiping about it. Sakura didn't take Sasuke's desertion rather well. Speaking of Sakura, Ino was thinking about going over to see how her friend was doing. It was no secret that the pink-haired genin had the hugest crush on Sasuke, something Ino wished her friend would get over for her own sake. A moment later the door to the shop swung open, revealing Sakura entering the shop, carrying a backpack filled with textbooks. Mrs. Yamanaka looked up from the counter to see Sakura. "Sakura," Mrs. Yamanaka greeted, "what brings you here?" "I was wondering if Ino was here," Sakura said. "She's in the back," Mrs. Yamanaka gestured, pointing to the door leading to where Ino was. Sakura walked through the shop to the door leading to the area where many of the Yamanaka plants and flowers were. The pink-haired genin entered the backyard to find Ino watering some of the larger plants. "Ino," Sakura called out. Ino turned to see her friend approaching her. "Sakura, I was thinking about seeing you today after my work here was done." "Looks like I beat you to the punch," Sakura said. "Are you busy?" "Just with the family business," Ino remarked. "Was there something you wanted to do today?" Sakura took off and set her backpack down on the ground. "I was coming from the library actually," Sakura replied. "Tsunade-sama was no joke in saying that she was going to work me hard if I'm to become a medic nin. But I must admit that it'll take calling Naruto-senpai some getting used to." "It'll grow on you," Ino said. "You'll just have to get used to being his koi, junior. Besides, it took me living with him some getting used to, and I knew my fiancé for years." "I know I should be happy for you, Ino," Sakura admitted, "but I must admit that a part of me envies you." "What for?" "The kind of relationship you have with Naruto was one I always wanted with Sasuke-kun. I tried everything I could think of to make myself more appealing to him, and yet all he did was give me the cold shoulder. Why did you even waste your time with that spoiled bastard anyway?" "Hey. I know Sasuke-kun had some issues in his life, especially after what his brother Itachi had done, but Sasuke-kun does have his good moments." "Like?" Ino inquired skeptically. Sakura thought for a moment before giving her longtime friend her reply. As she was about to give her friend a reply, she remembered Naruto's words to her about Sasuke some time ago. "Sasuke says he wants to rebuild his clan, but so far he's shown no actual steps in proving to anyone in this village that rebuilding his clan is his priority. And so far, all I see is Sasuke rebuilding his clan on bloodshed and hate. Such a clan will not last with a corrupt foundation. If Sasuke truly wants to become strong like you want to be, Sakura, and as you want him to be, then he needs to learn to let go of his hate and desires for power and vengeance, and find something or someone he regards as precious to him and seek to protect that which he cherishes with everything he is. Only then will he have discovered a strength that no amount of jutsus or hate could surpass." With a sigh of defeat, Sakura confessed, "To tell you the truth, Naruto haven't found much positive things about him at all. And sad to say, I can't but find truth in his words, as much as I hate to admit it." "Has Sasuke's recent actions proven Naruto-kun's words wrong in any way?" "Sasuke-kun said that this village has done nothing to help him become stronger. Yet, from what Naruto said, Sasuke-kun's reasons for wanting to become stronger isn't what Naruto approves of. He rejected Sasuke-kun's request for training and ignored everyone who tried to convince him to change his mind. Why do invest so much time on someone who refuses to see you how much you're worth?" Ino asked. The blonde kunoichi knew that Sakura always had issues with self-esteem, especially since girls used to poke fun at her because of her big forehead. Ino was the one who stood up for her, and the two became friends ever since. Since Sakura's helpless infatuation on Sasuke over the years, things got rather frustrating for Ino to deal with. "I know Sasuke-kun wasn't always the way he is now," Sakura said. "I thought I could change and help him in accomplishing his goals." "But what about your goals?" Ino interjected. "What had Sasuke ever done to help you accomplish them?" Sakura couldn't provide an answer to that question that could refute Ino's words to her. "He never trained with me no matter the amount of times I've asked him," Sakura admitted. "I know how Naruto trains with you and Hinata, and how he spars with Tenten and Lee occasionally. Oftentimes I found myself wishing that Sasuke-kun was more like Naruto. There were occasions that I wished Sasuke-kun and Naruto swapped personalities." "So you wish Sasuke had all of Naruto-kun's characteristics and abilities while Naruto-kun was stuck with all of Sasuke's bad habits and traits," Ino interpreted with a frown on her face with her arms crossed over her breasts. "And what of me and Hina-chan? Do you think we'd have liked having to deal with Naruto-kun back then if he was anything like Sasuke and treated us the way Sasuke treated you?" Sakura saw the incensed look on Ino's face and quickly apologized. "I'm sorry. I knew it was selfish of me back then, but I so wanted to believe that I could get Sasuke-kun change and be more like Naruto, especially after Naruto admitted that he'd have considered helping and training Sasuke-kun if Sasuke-kun was willing to change." Ino sighed to herself before taking a breath as she gathered her thoughts together. Sakura, I know how much you like Sasuke and I'm sorry that things didn't turn out the way you would have liked it to have. But as your friend I feel I should be honest in telling you for your own good to put Sasuke behind you. He isn't worth your time and he's done nothing productive with you. This romance you so desperately seek to have with him is a lost cause and for what it's worth, it'll only give you more heartache and disappointment. Sakura, Sasuke isn't right for you and his desertion of Konoha only makes matters worse for him. Sasuke could forget about receiving any training from Naruto-kun after he's brought back in chains for his betrayal. As much as Sakura hated hearing what Ino was saying, she knew that Ino meant well for her. True, Ino and Sakura had their arguments before, but they never allowed it to ruin their friendship. Sakura was about to say something when the door leading to back inside the shop opened up, revealing Hinata and Tenten coming through the door. Hey girlfriends, Tenten called out with her tomboyish demeanor as she and Hinata approached Sakura and Ino. What's up? Not much, Sakura said, I was actually on my way out. Tsunade-sama will want me hitting the books before she gets on my case. I'll see you three later. Sakura, after grabbing her backpack, hurriedly left the backyard and exited the shop, leaving Hinata and Tenten alone with Ino. What was that all about? Tenten asked quizzically. Ino sighed. Sakura and I just got into one of those talks about Sasuke. That traitorous jerk, Tenten remarked sourly. I don't know why Sakura is so fixated on that deserter. What could she possibly see in him anyway? Feelings don't just die overnight, I'm sorry to say, Ino said, especially when you're in denial about the actions of the person of interest. Tenten shook her head at the thought. Seeking to change the subject, Ino asked, how do you suppose the guys are doing? My guess is as good as yours, Tenten answered with a shrug, I just hope nothing bad happens to them. I'm sure they'll be alright, Hinata spoke in trying to sound as optimistic as possible, whatever trouble that they'll come across I'm certain that as a team they'll overcome them. I hope you're right, Tenten said, by the way, how do you both think Naruto is doing? Knowing Naruto-kun, Ino said optimistically, wherever he is, I'm sure he has everything under control. Hinata, confident in her best friend's words, nodded and agreed with her. Back in Nami no Kuni, deep inside the temple, Naruto looked up at the towering figure before him. A giant living statue of Diamond's Sujiro became, with Tsunami and Inari with him and under his control. So far during parts of the fight, Naruto allowed his anger and hate to get the better of his judgment, leading him into the situation he now found himself in. Shiki Fujin, Fuka Fujin and Sozo Saigen are definitely out of the question, Naruto contemplated while seeking to calm his anger and rationalize his options. The situation isn't dire enough for the use of those jutsus. However, resorting to Shiroi Gokakyu no Jutsu will. Flashback, 38 days ago. Naruto, 2 days after his recuperation and leaving the hospital, was in a meeting room at the Hokage Tower having a private discussion with his mother and Sarutobi about the jutsus he created. All but the Sozo Saigen were recorded in the Forbidden Scroll of Sealing. Naruto sat on a sofa in front of Tsunade and Sarutobi while she was going over the detailed documents based on her son's original jutsus. The two Hokages were sitting together on a separate sofa facing Naruto. Naruto, Tsunade spoke starting the meeting, with the exception of your Senei Jashu no Beizo Raise Non, Hidden Shadow Snake Hands Double Raise Non, all of your original jutsus are high-risk S-class kinjutsus, one of them a kinjutsu uji. And what of it? Naruto asked as a matter of fact. They're jutsus no one can use, useless, they want a quick death, Sarutobi interjected. From the looks of them, they all look like self-sacrificial jutsus. They're all powerful attack jutsus. You haven't made any jutsus that ninjas of lower classes can use, Sarutobi pointed out. Not my problem, Naruto countered with his arms crossed over his chest. When my father created the Hiraishin and Raise Non, he didn't make them for everyone's use either. Be that as it may, Sarutobi said, but the Raise Non and Hiraishin aren't life-threatening to the user as the jutsus you've created. Plus the Hiraishin, as you're well aware of, is an S-class attack ninjutsu, not a kinjutsu. It doesn't change the fact that my father didn't create them for everyone to use, Naruto replied. That isn't the point, Tsunade sighed as her rubbed temples in frustration. Look, Naruto spoke up, those jutsus I created were all my specialty jutsus. They won't work for anyone unless they have the prerequisites for them. Naruto, Tsunade interjected, let me make something very clear about your jutsus. The Shiroi Gokakyu no Jutsu you created caused severe cellular damage to your respiratory system and oral cavity. Healing the burns and injuries was very difficult, even for me at my level. There's no guarantee that you'll survive another use of that kinjutsu. And even if you managed to do so, Sarutobi cut in, your body will have sustained too much damage for you to continue your career as a ninja. You'd be forced to retire early and never be a ninja again for the rest of your life. And on top of that, you'd be forced to renounce your goals in becoming Hokage, because the village wouldn't survive with a crippled as a Hokage. Naruto bit back the bile that built up in his throat on hearing those words. And that Fukafugen, Tsunade continued, was another problem for me to solve with the extensive damage it done to your chakra coils. There's no promise that I'll be able to restore you again if you resort to using those jutsus a second time. The damages that it will inflict on your body could very well be irreversible the next time you use any of those jutsus. And based on the information about your incomplete Raisen Kamikaze, that kinjutsu is too unstable to be used, and it causes you heavy muscle and organ damages as well. Naruto wanted to argue against her points, but chose to hold his tongue before he ended up saying something he'd later regret. Naruto, Tsunade went on, I'm telling you this not only as your mother and Hokage, but also as your personal physician. Those jutsus of yours are too dangerous to use, even with Kyuubi's chakra. The cycle of losing and reproducing of your cells simultaneously after the use of each of those kinjutsus will only shorten your life. Naruto gave no reply as he listened. You're forbidden from ever using those kinjutsus again. I heard that already from Ji-san at the hospital 2 days ago, Naruto replied while controlling his frustration. Well, she's emphasizing the point, Sandaime remarked. Tsunade added sharply, you're being expressly prohibited by both Sarutobi-sensei and I. Those jutsus are off limits. Are we clear? Naruto sighed in defeat, yeah, Crystal. There was a brief moment of silence between them. Tsunade decided to break the silence. Listen Naruto, you're my only heir and future successor, and though it hasn't been made public as of yet, you are the future Rokudaime chosen by Sarutobi-sensei and myself. But you have to learn when not to take deadly gambles with your life, especially when the safety of the village would depend on your actions and decisions. Continuing such a practice would be gambling the safety of the village as well. Hokages don't make decisions based on a gamble. Naruto found the situation rather ironic. Senju Tsunade, the slug princess and legendary sucker, was schooling him on the dangers of gambling, when she herself was addicted to the sport. He would have called her a hypocrite to very face were it not for the seriousness of the meeting they were having. Naruto said nothing as he allowed her mother's words to sink into his mind. I'll think deeply on your words, Kaa-chan. Standing up from the sofa, Naruto turned and made his way to the door. When he reached the door, however, Naruto stopped where he was. With his back still facing the two Hokages, Naruto requested, Kaa-chan, Ji-san, with regard to my Senei Jashu no Beizo Raise-nan, I have one request about it. And what might that be? Tsunade incurred. Naruto turned his head to look over his left shoulder, remove it from the forbidden scroll of sealing. Sandaime and Tsunade were caught off guard by what Naruto was asking. Remove it? Tsunade asked, looking at her son incredulously, why should we? I believe I made my point very clear earlier about the jutsus I created, Naruto explained. When I created those jutsus I made them with special prerequisites in mind. First off, the Senei Jashu no Beizo Raise-nan requires that the user have a summoning contract of some form with snakes, and since Orochimaru is dead, only Anko-chan as his former apprentice possess the contract, and she's not about to let anyone else sign that contract anytime soon. Second, it requires the user to have complete knowledge in creating the Raise-nan. Training in the use of the Raise-nan is a 3-step procedure of spiral rotations and chakra manipulation. Learning to master that jutsu is no easy task since the Raise-nan has no hand seals to follow along with. It took Ero-jisen months to learn and master that jutsu, and he's a Sunin like Kaa-chan. Imagine how long it would take anyone else. Third, information about how to create the Raise-nan was never recorded in the Forbidden Scroll due to my father's personal reasons. Therefore, if someone were to get their hands on the Senei Jashu no Beizo Raise-nan, without the essential requirements and skills that long-range ninjutsu is useless. Sandaime and Tsunade found logic and a lot of truth in Naruto's words. He made complete sense with no way to refute him. It's evident that when you create that jutsu you placed a great deal of thought into it, Sandaime acknowledged, taking a puff of his pipe. Very well then, we'll honor that request in removing it from the scroll. Thank you, Naruto nodded to him before turning back around and leaving the room, dismissing himself from their sight. After the door was closed shut, Tsunade dropped her serious mode and allowed herself just a moment to express her emotions. What am I going to do with that boy? Tsunade sighed. He acts more like a grown man than a boy, Tsunade, Sandaime remarked. Tsunade snorted, he's still an immature boy in my eyes in some respects though. You just want to protect and keep him close to you, Sandaime interpreted while pulling out his pipe from his mouth, reading Tsunade's body language, as any caring mother would for their children, shinobi or not. I wouldn't be able to bear losing my son again, Sarutobi-sensei, Tsunade said with her eyes closed. That pain was too great. He already died before me, I don't want to go through that experience again. Sandaime, letting his fatherly spirit overtake him, placed a comforting hand over her right hand, which she accepted as she grabbed and held onto his hand. Outside the room, Naruto was standing behind the door listening to Tsunade and Sarutobi's words exchanged between them. After hearing what he heard, Naruto left the Hokage Tower and went about his own business with a lot to think about. End of flashback. After clearing the anger that clouded his judgment, Naruto realized, resorting to any of my kinjutsus is definitely out of the question. I'll have to come up with a more rational method in cracking through that diamond body of his without gambling or risking too much danger to my own well-being. While deep in thought, Naruto started thinking back to his earlier fight with Inari and Tsunami. During the fight with them, Naruto sensed that something was rather off about them. Sujiro said that he integrated them into some sort of bodies. Naruto thought as he theorized the probability, would that most likely mean that. Naruto didn't get to finish his train of thoughts when Sujiro came at him. Here I come, Sujiro yelled at his rushed at Naruto. Snapping out of his thoughts, Naruto barely evaded a large fist that came his way. He was caught off his guard when a large leg slammed hard into his chest, effectively knocking the breath out of him. Taking the momentary stun into his advantage, Sujiro grabbed Naruto and threw him hard into the wall, forming a crater into the wall with his body. Naruto fell to the ground flat on his chest. Pulling himself together, Naruto felt the brute pain that followed before he coughed up some blood from his mouth and onto the floor. A moment later, Naruto saw a shadow overcast him. He looked up and hurriedly rolled out of the way as Sujiro speedily came crashing to the ground, seeking to crushing into the ground. The Iwa Jounin formed a crater in the ground from the impact. Naruto red cat-slit eyes narrowed at his situation. Get off your damn ass, kid. Naruto recognized that voice anywhere. Kyuubi, Naruto sneered mentality, it's been a long time, can't say that I missed you. Naruto held onto his sides, realizing that he now had 4 broken ribs. Getting your ass handed to you, I see, Kyuubi snickered, and by some Iwa nin. That's pathetic. Naruto slowly rose off the ground while feeling the excruciating pain that came with it. Now I know how Ero-jisan felt when Kaa-chan broke his ribs after she beat the hell out of him for peeking on her once, Naruto thought before felling Kyuubi chakra pouring into his ribs, healing them in the process. Let's rock, Sujiro exclaimed as he charged at Naruto. Oh hell, Naruto grimaced before he jumped from where Sujiro plunged his large diamond arm blade. Inari and Tsunami followed after Naruto, not seeking to give him time to recuperate. Naruto was forced to battle his friends despite the fact that he was dealing with his temporarily painful handicap. Naruto saw Sujiro jump away from him and leap high into the air. He rushed through a set of hand seals and thrusts his hands towards Naruto's direction. Kongosuken, Kongosuke Ryasei no Jutsu, Diamond Release, Diamond Meteor Shower Technique, Sujiro said as the fired hundreds of energy diamond-shaped shards at Naruto. The blonde grabbed and lifted a column over him, using it as cover as the energy shards pelted down on him, doing considerable damage to the column in his place. The heavy pelting continued until the column was reduced to pieces and rubble. Beautiful, Naruto remarked in sarcasm before focusing chakra into his legs. Leaping into the air, Naruto propelled himself over to Sujiro. Reaching him, Naruto formed a Rasengan and plunged it into Iwa Jounin's chest. The Jounin was rocketed away from Naruto before crashing into wall, forming a large crater into it before fall straight to surface. While falling, Sujiro shot his left hand out and unleashed a diamond-made tentacle from out of his and over to Naruto, catching him by his right ankle. "What?" Naruto said as the tentacle tightened around him. He was unable to break free as Sujiro pulled back and swung his tentacle to the ground. Naruto came plunging into the ground with Sujiro landing on his feet a couple of feet behind him. The tentacle was still fastened around his ankle. Lifting Naruto off the ground, Sujiro started swinging and smacking Naruto across ground, walls, and columns, breaking a few of the columns on contact. "God damn it," Naruto cursed before seeing another tentacle being formed, this one into a stabbing weapon. "Die," Sujiro said as he plunged the tentacle into Naruto's chest, only for it to puff and reveal itself to being a long piece of slab. "Kawarimi," Sujiro realized. Naruto moved in stealthily to attack Sujiro from behind. His effort was met with a brute disappointment. Sujiro speedily turned and punched him in the face, sending him pummeling into the floor. The blonde coughed up some blood from his mouth again while feeling the pain from his still wounded ribs with the additional injuries he was inflicted with. He looked down to see that many parts of his clothes and gear had sustained damages and tears with other parts of his clothes covered in his blood. "You won't get me that easily," Sujiro said cockily. "In this form, I'm like a living body of eyes. Every angle of my diamond body reflects everything around it to my eyes, giving me 360 vision of my surrounds." "Great," Naruto thought sourly, "now it's imitating the Byakugan. What more must I deal with?" To answer his unspoken question, Inari and Tsunami came charging in from the sides. The duo jumped into the air and made their way down to trample down on Naruto's form. The elite Jounin turned, rolled to his back and brought his legs back with his feet positioned toward the air. Tsunami and Inari came landing down on Naruto's feet before he kicked and thrust them away from him. While in the air, the pair regained their bearings and flipped down to the ground with no harm done to them. Naruto steadily stood back up off the ground despite the pain. Naruto spat on the ground with his spit mixed in with a bit of his blood. More of Kyuubi's chakra started pouring from the seal and into Naruto's chakra coils. The blonde fought to keep his mind in focus and not give in to the fox's primal influence. Sujiro was already seeing the elite Jounin's wounds and injuries healing up, leaving sections of his clothes ragged and dirted. "I see now why many believe that as a medic nin he'll surpass his mother Tsunade," Sujiro noted to himself. "That healing factor of his will be a problem if not dealt with soon." After catching his breath and many of his injuries healed, Naruto, resorting to the snake style, dashed over to Inari and Tsunami, using speed, caution, and flexibility to move his way around them. Though pressure points didn't stop them, however, it served to slow them down enough for Naruto to inflict additional blows to them. Tsunami, with her diamond kunais in hand, rushed at Naruto with kicks and stabs, all of which the elite Jounin managed to maneuver around like a serpent. "Sene Jashu," Naruto said as he shot snakes around out of his arms over to Tsunami. Grabbing her, he lifted and swung her over to Inari, who caught her upon being thrown. After retracting the snakes into his arms, the blonde reached into his rugged trench coat and pulled out a small scroll and opened it. Pouring chakra into the scroll, he activated the seal in it, releasing his blade staff before gripping his weapon of choice. "I've had just about enough of this," Naruto stated before being tangled in combat again. Meanwhile, Tsuchiko and Ryota were still battling it out with each other in their sword-to-sword combat. The IWA medic Jounin proved to be more formidable than Ryota had counted on. She managed to land several slashes on Ryota, though she endured injuries over her own. But what gave her an advantage was her healing abilities she'd used as a result of her medic training. Surprisingly, during the fight, neither Ryota nor Tsuchiko resorted to other forms of ninjutsu. That was now about to change. Ryota raced through a set of hand seals and Ishikuzari no Kazui no Mari, stone chain spike ball, Ryota said while summoning her next weapon. Grabbing the rock chain, Ryota lifted and swung her weapon off the ground. "I'll grind you to dust," Ryota yelled out as she launched her spiked-covered boulder at Tsuchiko. The medic nin jumped out of the way before the spiked boulder come plunging into one of the trees, knocking it down on contract after destroying its base. Pulling her weapon back to her, Ryota prepared to throw it again. "Oh no, you don't," Tsuchiko remarked after racing through a series of hand seals and infusing her element with her jutsu. What formed from her hands were Krika scalpels charged with electricity. She focused the chakra scalpels into larger blades with electricity infused into it. Rei-Injin-to no Jutsu, lightning scalpel technique, Tsuchiko said as she rushed over and slashed the chain, severing its connection to the boulder. Before Ryota could reconnect her chain to her boulder, Tsuchiko dashed her at with the intention of stabbing her with her Rei-Injin-to. Ryota flipped backwards several times to avoid getting struck by the attack as Tsuchiko continued coming at her. "You're an earth elemental ninja," Tsuchiko stated. "I on the other hand am a lightning type, a rare type in Iwagakure. And lightning shatters earth, which means your earth jutsus are useless against me. Don't be too quick to underestimate me," Ryota warned. "I'm not only known for my expertise in earth-type attacks." Making her point clear, Ryota jumped into the air and hurled herself after Tsuchiko with her chakra-charged fist aimed at her. Seeing the danger, Tsuchiko dashed out of the way before Ryota's fist came crashing down, forming a huge crater in the ground. "Like Tsunade-sama," Ryota said, "I'm also a ninja known for my amazing strength." "And you'll soon be a dead ninja once known for your amazing strength," Tsuchiko remarked. Forming a hand sign, Ryota focused her earth affinity before sinking completely into the ground. Tsuchiko looked around for the elusive Kunoichi, doing all she could to keep from being ambushed. A moment later, she heard and felt the sounds and vibrations of the ground. She turned to see something making its way over to her from underground. She jumped away into before a giant worm made from gravel and dirt burst forth from the ground, thrusting its 3 tentacles from its mouth at her. Using her Rei-Injin-to, Tsuchiko slashed and destroyed 2 of the tentacles. Grabbing the 3rd one, she slid down on it, making her way over to its opened mouth. "Eat this," Tsuchiko yelled as she punched her fist into his mouth, blowing off its head. Caught in the mass of the dust and dirt cloud, Ryota took the opportunity to thrust from out of the earthen worm and into the surface. She somersaulted and struck Tsuchiko in her chin, throwing her into the air. Not giving her time to recover, Ryota leaped and hurried over to her and delivered a swift roundhouse kick to her side. Tsuchiko was sent on a colliding course to the ground, landing down with a hard impact. Tsuchiko coughed up a bit of blood from her mouth. Ryota landed down gracefully with Tsuchiko several yards away from her. "Like I said," Ryota said, "don't underestimate me. You'll regret that." Tsuchiko spat as used her chakra to heal her injured jaw inside. Meanwhile, Anko was being triple-teamed by 2 male jounins and 1 female jounin. So far they were able to hold their grounds against Anko and managed to land some injuries on her. Anko had sustained a couple of cuts and bruises, but nothing life-threatening thus far. "I'm really getting sick of you morons," Anko snarled. "Getting weak already, Konoha trash," the female IWA jounin of the trio mocked. "Please, tell us you wish for a quick death." "Not now," Anko retorted, "not ever." Biting her thumb, she did her required hand signs and thrust her hand to the ground. "Cookie Yos no Jutsu," Anko said before a large puff of white smoke covered the area. Moments later, the smoke cleared, revealing a very large brown snake. The IWA jounins back away from the creature. "Now my pet," Anko smiled, "have them satisfy your hunger with their lives." The summoned snake hissed venomously as it turned its attention on its targets. The snake charged them with a lethal speed before the IWA jounins started running for their lives. Anko grinned sadistically as she ran in pursuit of them as she saw one of them being caught and swallowed whole and alive by the snake, that one being the female jounin from earlier. Back inside the temple, a large rock slab came flying in at Naruto. Focusing his wind element around his hands, the blonde turned and shredded the slab to many fragments before Tsumani and Inari ran over to him. The boy threw series of shurikens at the elite jounin, only to see the blonde ward off all of the shurikens with his wind element and thrust them all deep into the wall. Inari made his way over to Naruto as he jumped and attempted to perform a roundhouse kick to Naruto's head. Naruto, however, grabbed the boy and shot green chakra into the boy's body. Just as I thought, Naruto realized with partial narrowed eyes before grabbing and throwing the boy over to his mother. He crashed into her before Naruto appeared behind them and "Raise non," Naruto yelled back, thrusting the spiraling orb of chakra into the woman's back. The ball propelled from Naruto and rocketed Tsunami and her son down away from Naruto and into one of the columns. The column collapsed over them, leaving them immobilized and trapped where they were. "Surprising," Sujiro remarked in the shadows out of Naruto's sight, "you didn't even hold back from hurting Inari and Tsunami." It looks like I misjudged your brutal methods. Naruto spat on the ground and sealed his staff back into the scroll before putting the scroll back inside his trench coat. Naruto turned to Sujiro and retorted, "You know nothing about me. And there's more to me that you'll never know, not now or ever." "Big words for someone who's punier than I am now," Sujiro replied back, "but in any case, all that I have to know about you is that you'll be dead by sunset." "I see that you're locked away in the darkness deep within the earth," Naruto said. "I tell you today, that while you are in the darkness deep within the abyss of the earth, you will by no means stay concealed in the earth's darkness. You will be made to see the light in all its power. I tell you this with a promise." Naruto caught a split-second glimpse of light from his left. He only had less than a second to duck under a large razor-sharp diamond blade that nearly cleaved him in half. "I'll show you some lights, Namikaze," Sujiro roared before charged at full throttle towards Naruto. The blonde was surprised that despite Sujiro's large size he was incredibly fast and agile. This was made clear what a number of Sujiro attacks were making their marks on Naruto's body. The blonde felt Kyuubi's influence seeking for opportunities to overtake his reasoning. Naruto pushed Kyuubi's influence to the background before receiving a punch from a rather large fist that sent him flying backwards through several columns with Sujiro in hot pursuit. Just as Sujiro was about to stab down on Naruto, the said blonde shushed from his sight over and over to another location away from the 17-year-old Iwa Jounin. Naruto took the moment to catch his breath. "I haven't been this pissed in a while," Naruto said while pulling himself together. Sujiro appeared behind Naruto, his large fist up in the air and ready to crush it down onto the medic Jounin. Sensing the danger, Naruto dashed away merely 2 seconds from having his head smashed to pieces as the fist came thrusting into the floor. Pulling his fist from out of the hole he made into the ground, Sujiro speed dashed to Naruto who, as in the case with Inari and Tsunami, used the snake style to maneuver himself around the huge fighter. As it stood, Naruto was now on the defense as Sujiro came at full throttle on the offense. Naruto dodged and evaded many of the Iwa Jounin's attacks and diamond-based weapons. "Stand still, you little worm," Sujiro roared out in frustration. "Elusive serpent actually," Naruto remarked before jumping and flipping over the towering figure. Grabbing a standing column, Naruto broke and pulled it off its position. Using it as a baseball bat, he swung it at Sujiro with full force, sending the large ninja flying away from Naruto up into the air. Sujiro found himself airborne, but before he was able to get his bearings back, Naruto shushed to him and swung the column down on him, sending him rocketing into the ground with a mighty crash. Looking up into the air, Sujiro looked in time to see Naruto holding the column vertically as he plunged it into him deep into the ground, shaking the ground contact. Naruto stopped to catch his breath while keeping his guard up. His momentarily ceasefire was cut short when a long diamond blade suddenly burst from the column and stabbed into Naruto's right chest. Naruto screamed after feeling sharp blade tear into his bone and flesh. Before it could change shape and lock into him, Naruto pulled away from the weapon now stained with his blood. He backed away while holding onto his opened wound. "Shit," Naruto cursed, "I was careless that time." The column was lifted from out of the hole and off the ground, revealing Sujiro with his left arm dug into the bottom of the column. "That was a nice effort, Naruto," Sujiro complimented, "but it's going to take a lot more than that to beat me. And from where I see things after all that's happened up till now, you're not even on my level." The blonde snarled at the arrogant shinobi in front of him. Sujiro, after retracted his blade arm from out of the column, tossed the column away from him. "I remember Ryota-chan have a prideful spirit much like yours when she had me on the run," Naruto said, stalling for time so his wound could heal in close up, "but that only lasts for so long. And as it was in her case, your arrogance and pride will be your undoing." "Ryota-chan was weak and of no use to anyone," Sujiro mocked, "no one cared what happened or who had their way with her. But I will admit that she has a gorgeous body that surprisingly no one in Iwa took an interest in, well, nobody but me, that was." Naruto gave no reply. "Please, tell me, Namikaze, in all the time Ryota-chan has been with you, I'm sure that you found Ryota-chan's delicious body to be rather exquisite. I saw her on top of you on the beach the other night after she confessed her undying love for you. A nice play fight between a boy and his girl before getting intimate, now that's entertainment worth watching, though I was disappointed to see that things didn't go further than making out after your Anko-chan made the appearance." From what I saw and heard, it seemed that your Anko-chan was looking forward to a hot coital threesome on the beach that night. I'm amazed that you didn't knock them up since they were obviously willing to share you amongst themselves. I mean come, what man in their right mind would turn down hot sex on the beach with not one but two sexy kunoichis with the moonlight shining over them? Naruto looked at the ninja before him in outrage and indignation. Not only was he spying on them the entire time, but Sujiro openly admitted that he was hoping to get visuals of his personal sex life, though Naruto never actually had sex with anyone at all yet. An Erojisan calls himself a super pervert like no other, Naruto thought. You're not impotent, are you? Sujiro mocked. Perhaps after I kill you, I'll show your Anko-chan a good time after I'm finished with Ryota-chan and Inari's mother. Fuck you, Naruto cursed, you won't go anywhere near them. Further, my personal sex life is none of your goddamn business. At least I don't have to resort to forcing myself on females like you tried to, you said in pathetic excuse for ninja. You call yourself the Diamond Fang, but your diamonds are only worth toilet paper because you're so full of shit. You son of a bitch, Sujiro screamed as he thrust his right hand forward as his fingers elongated into speeding and piercing stabbing spikes. Naruto jumped into the air as the spikes stabbed into the large rock behind him. Damn it, Sujiro said in frustration after missing his target. With his spikes still in the rock, Sujiro lifted the rock and threw at Naruto. Seeing the object coming at him, Naruto punched the rock to pieces and landed back down on the ground. Looking around, he found Sujiro nowhere in sight. Now where the hell is that worthless rock? Naruto asked to no one in particular. By this time, Tsunami and her son, after recovering from Naruto's raise-non, got out from under the column and backed away from Naruto towards the wall while looking at an opportunity to attack the blonde. Kit, Kuwabai spoke up, you're wasting your time with that horny prick. I could care less with what happens to Inari's mother, but certainly you're not going to let that idiot have his way with 2 of your 5 future mates, are you? Naruto was about to give a retort to Kuwabai when Kongosuken, Toramaka Renda no Jutsu, Diamond Release, Surrounding Barrage Technique, Sujiro said as myriads of sparkling shards suddenly started being fired at Naruto in all directions. Each shard promised to tear through flesh and bones until the target was reduced to a pile of liquefied shreds. Acting quickly, Naruto put into action his latest jutsu. Futon, Shippuyu Uzumaki no Jutsu, Wind Release, Hurricane Whirlpool Technique, Naruto hollered while focusing and manipulating his wind element before levitating 10 feet into the air and spinning around in blurring rotations, creating a spinning force field of wind repelling everything away from it. The myriads of shards were blasted away from the mighty force of the spinning dome while large dust clouds were forming around the surrounding area, simultaneously blowing away other objects and debris far from where Naruto was. Inari and Tsunami were trying to fight against the strength of the attack only to be knocked back off their feet and buried under a pile of rubble and dirt again. Moments later, Naruto gradually stopped spinning, causing the windstorm to slowly die down. When it was all over, Naruto lowered himself down to the floor and held onto his chest, taking in large intakes of breath into his lungs. After spending some time studying the Hyuga's Kaiten, Naruto had devoted some time in secret creating his own version of that jutsu using his wind affinity and speed. However, he never got around to experiment fully with it. But where it stood so far, the prototype jutsu proved to be rather effective. Swallow your pride, Hayashi-san, Naruto grinned. I as your future son-in-law don't need the Byakugan to perform the Kaiten when I got this. Sujiro suddenly burst from out of the ground, grabbing Naruto by the face, raising and lifting him into the air. His large right hand encased around his head as he tightened his hold on him with every passing second. Got you, Sujiro said victoriously as he applied more pressure onto the blonde's skull as Naruto struggled fervently to break free. I'm sure you wish you had the Byakugan's all-seeing power now to have seen that coming. He increased the force into his hand to squash Naruto's head, only to see the panicking medic Jounin burst into a pool of mud and fall to the ground. What? Sujiro exclaimed in surprise, but angered that his supposed victory was denied him. Calming himself down, the diamond specialist went searching for Naruto. Where are you? Sujiro taunted. Come out wherever you are. Don't tell me this is the best the Konoha's second flash can do. You're just going to run and hide in the dark like some little bitch, Kuwabai mocked, foolish human. Let's go out there and kill him together. Not allowing himself to be manipulated by Sujiro's taunts or Kyuubi's ridicules, Naruto snuck away into the shadows to give himself some time come up with a plan of action. So far many of Naruto's attacks did close to nothing in damaging Sujiro's diamond body and armor. He barely put a crack in it, even with his insane strength. He knew he had to come up with something soon. Forcing Kyuubi's chakra down, Naruto's eyes returned back to normal as his fangs shrunk down inside with his whiskers vanishing totally from his face. "You refuse my power," Kyuubi said, "you won't get anywhere without my help kit. I'll see you come begging at my paws, demanding use of my chakra." Ignoring the Baijuyo, Naruto stealthily moved deeper into the temple while making sure to avoid being spotted by the diamonds Sujiro placed around the temple. So far all was clear. While on the move, Naruto thought back to one of the lessons his father gave him. Flashback, 2 years ago. Naruto, age 11, was in his subconscious, sitting before Minato who was behind his seal. The sounding area was amazing clean and Minato himself wasn't as confined as Kyuubi. He had more moving ability than the fox and when even allowed to move about only so far since the seal was still bound to him. "Naruto," Minato asked, "how are battles won?" "Through good planning and overwhelming numbers," Naruto answered. Minato replied, "Suppose that despite good planning and numbers that things don't go as planned, then what?" Naruto thought for a moment before he gave his father his reply, "How can you fight against the enemy if the plan that was thought up doesn't work the way it was intended to? What purpose does staying around to fight accomplishes?" "Very good Naruto," Minato smiled, "I'm glad to see you using your head instead of jumping to wrong conclusions." "Hey," Naruto snorted indignantly, "I resent that." "Well, it's better that you make mistakes here while training with me," Minato remarked, "instead of making them on the battlefield where such mistakes are irreversible." Naruto gave his father no reply as he stayed silent and listened. "A good ninja knows when to pull back and retreat in order to replan his strategy," Minato explained, continuing to go into a battle foolhardy with no revised tactics after a plan fails only leads the ninja and his team to disaster. Many ninjas of Konoha during the second and third Great Shinobi Wars have died because of their refusal to pull away when the situations were more than they could handle. They failed to re-evaluate their options and didn't regroup to come up with another plan of attack. Fewer lives and resources are lost when the fighters use good judgments in knowing when a temporary retreat from fight is needed. End flashback. Naruto found that this was one of those times. He knew that it wouldn't be long until Sujiro found and continue his assault on him. So far Inari and Tsunami were incarcerated under the debris, but he knew that wouldn't hold them down for long, especially after the revelation he made about their bodies. "Don't worry Sujiro," Naruto said in an undertone while making his trek into the unknown, "while deep in the abyss of the earth, I promise you, I'll have you see the light." Check the description for the links to the author.